Welcome to Crunch Time with Jeff, Booner, Lukas, and Mike. It's Thursday, February 8th. We got another packed show planned for you guys, as always. Welcome. We appreciate you guys for taking the time tonight. I know I see some new people in here as well. I want to get some shout-outs before we get to it. Jeff, I like the name, by the way, Jeff Buckler. Appreciate you for joining. Alicius, as always. We got Neil, AB, Bear, all the guys. Freddie Fell 313. We appreciate you.
Shout out.
Flame. Of course, we'll just call him Mr. 500, the man, the myth, the legend, Coach Walk 37. We love that, man. He's here with us, supporting the crew as always. ETN here as well. Again, I'm excited, guys. We got John Maakaron joining the show. We're talking some more Lions draft. We're going to try and break down the Pistons trade deadline. I'm going to try, guys. I'm going to try. See what I can come up with here. And Booner's going to be joining in a couple of minutes here. He's coming home, so he'll be joining us about 10 minutes in. And also, you can roast me all you want. I got to depart from the show early today. I got a side mission, and the boys are going to hold down with me.
Boo this man. Boo this man.
Yeah, you can boo me. That's fair. I'll take it. The boys are going to hold it down tonight, Lukas, Gentry, and Booner, and they're going to do a great job. And I will be back tomorrow. But trust me, guys, when this all comes out, it'll be worth it. I think for us and for the people. But before we get started, Lukas, Mike, how you guys doing tonight?
Fantastic.
Doing good.
Good
Just
to
got
see you,
another
boys.
good workout.
Yeah, fantastic. Gonna be
You going, Gentry?
No, I didn't know if you were having it, but can't wait for Booner to join. Even though Jeff's leaving, we're still gonna have an electric show. Got a lot of fun stuff planned. The Doc joining us. Gonna be a great show, man.
The Doc, yeah, John Maakaron. Shout out to him, man. I did his podcast today. He does great work. He does, and we love John. I told John on the pod, I go, we are all Doc stans here at Crunch Time. We are Doc stans. He is the man. He truly is, and he was supportive of me and Lukas, and now of me, Lukas, Booner, and Mike, just for everything we're doing. So shout out to Doc, man. He'll be joining us 8:45 later in the show. Before we get into the Lions, because trust me, we'll get to our favorite Lions moments of the year. We'll get 3 of them to be exact. We'll go through it. We'll get to, obviously, Jeff Risdon. He came out with his top choices for the first-round pick, the Lions' first-round pick, that is. We'll break that down in the second hour. Levi Onwuzurike. Hey, I know you're fired up for that, Lukas. We'll talk about him at 9:15, huh? Hey, Benjamin Raven came out with an article, I believe it was. Just kind of breaking down. He was able to talk to Levi, and Levi's excited
for
a
breakout season.
His first healthy off season.
He's back, Lukas. He's back.
Levi Onwuzurike. They got a little bit left to give. I don't know. We'll see. So we'll break it down. But just to start, Pistons made some moves.
Did they though?
Tell us about him, Jeff. Tell us how the Detroit Pistons are going in the right direction, and how Troy Weaver was the GM we've always been told he was. And how Killian Hayes, we got a great package in return for him, and how he's a great player. Oh, wait, no, he got released. Couldn't even get a 2027 second-round pick for him. Nothing.
Yeah, I'll say this, guys. I'll say this, okay? I didn't walk away from this deadline going, okay, I'm impressed. Like, they traded for the small forward from Utah, Simone. We'll just call him Simone Fettuccini. I like that name better. And he's a knockdown shooter. He's a wing, and he's young. He's got 2 years in the league. And I think the fit. I like the fit. Like, I actually do. I like the player. They gave up Kevin Knox in a second rounder. Like, it's nothing. Like, I don't mind that move. The one that is confusing, 2 of them, Killian Hayes basically, and I'm not completely shocked he was cut. But I also am. They didn't get anything, like not even a second round pick. That was what was being reported earlier. Is like there was a second round pick on the table. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but they basically just gave that man away for nothing. And listen, I don't think there's an argument really to argue that he's worth any value. But at that point, if you're going to cut him, you might as well just keep him on the roster. I didn't get that part of it. But regardless, Killian Hayes was officially cut. They also traded Bogey and Alec Burks to the Knicks as a package. 2 40% 3-point shooters. Two guys that can help. Great for the Knicks. Like 2 guys that can help a championship contender. And the Pistons got back Quentin Grimes, Evan Fournier, Flynn, who's a point guard, played for Utah. He's all right. And 2 second-round picks. Like that trade is butt cheeks. Like I'll just say, like, no, I'm serious. That trade, I don't get it. They gave, and they had Bogey on the table last trade deadline for like a first round pick. And now you basically package him with Alec for 2 second rounders and Quint. I like Quentin Grimes, but he's not. I mean, he's a role.
Is he going to be back next year? That's the thing. So like,
yeah, I don't know.
You lose all value for Bogey keeping him over the year. That's like my biggest problem. Last year, his value was so high. He was averaging 25 a game, shooting 25 times a game. So like his value was never going to get higher than that point. And you should have sold him high. You should have sold a few people high going into this deadline. And then, I mean, none of these moves are really deal breakers. They don't really move the needle by any means, but like you got a little bit younger, you got some better defenders out of these guys, but it's just not what you would expect out of what you would have expected out of this deadline. And now you move into the offseason thinking, how am I going to trust Troy Weaver? Or do I even want to trust him with all this cap space now? And what is he going to do with this roster? So it's like, just makes no sense. Just brutal move after brutal move.
Yeah, and I have to do more research here because Coach Walk brought up. They say it's a first round pick, but I don't think it was. Yeah, I believe last year there was one on the table. I could be wrong. I think there was other teams that were interested in Bogey because to Mike's point, like he could help a championship team. Like certainly, I mean, despite him, he can't stop a nosebleed. He can't stop a parked car on defense, which like that's a whole nother thing. But he's a hell of a shooter. And I do think he could contribute to a championship team.
That's a bar.
Yeah, it is a bar. That is a bar. That is a bar.
Is it fair to be completely out on him, Jeff?
Yeah, I just don't think he's. I'll say this, okay? And you guys know how I feel about Troy. And early on, in terms of his eye for talent, we can bring up Killian. It's a miss. And you know where I stand, right? I like Duran. I like Cade. I like some players he's drafted. I like Sasser.
You loved Killian.
But I bought his jersey, but that's not here or there. But yeah, I think at this point, if Pistons fans want him fired, I can't. I have nothing for it. I'm not going to sit here and defend him blindly. If I'm being real, like I don't think you have no ground to stand on to defend him. You have no ground. You just don't. And if you feel a certain way about letting him go into the offseason with money, that's fair. Here's the problem. And I brought this up last time we talked about the Pistons. To get a certified dude, you need assets. You need first round picks. I know they got some second rounders, but they can't trade their first round picks, at least in the coming years. Like they belong to the Knicks. So they're in a position where you're not going to get anybody in free agency. You can't fork over multiple first round picks for a certified star in the NBA. You have to depend on the guys you currently have turning into stars. It's that simple. Like you need the guys you have, Ivy, Kidd, and I know Ivy just came out 30 plus points, and they had like 37, which was great. But you're depending on these guys to take the next jump. If they don't, guys, like they're screwed. That's how that works.
And like, what confidence should you have behind that? Obviously, you have the 2020 draft and the 2021 draft. There's you have Cade that's staying, and then you have Isaiah Stewart, who I'm convinced
your boy Gentry.
I'm convinced that he's only on this roster still, so Troy can feel great about at least having to re-sign one of his draft picks in 2 years, and he's still living off chasing LeBron. There is no reason that a guy like that. There's no reason that a guy like that should have not been traded at the deadline. You've seen the Celtics move for Xavier Tillman. You're telling me that we couldn't have shipped off Stu and then grabbed something for that? It's just. That is my whole conspiracy behind that. The only reason Stu is re-signed and is still on this team is so that Troy can feel better about his 2 dog shit draft classes back to back. That I'm literally convinced that because there's no other reason he's still on this team.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, Booner. Booner, I know you feel just cook, man.
Are we talking about the Pistons right now?
Yeah.
What are we doing
before Jeff leaves?
Before Jeff leaves. Jeffrey, where are you going? No, the Pistons. I don't know what's going on. With the
Troy.
Killian Hayes just got waived, and guess what? Tyrese Halliburton's an all-star. That's all you have to say about Troy Weaver, buddy. Like, I don't know what else to say. Like, what's going on right now? I just can't wrap my head. And this is why I hate talking Pistons right now and just anytime. I can't wrap my head around the fact of an owner, Tom Gores, thinking it's okay to let Troy Weaver have another offseason and just spend more money and just use more draft capital and trade more players. Because I'm going to tell you this too. and this is a matter of fact. The reason he's making trades right now is because he's going to be here for at least another year. If he wasn't going to be here, there's no reason he should be making trades and spending money. There's no reason for it. It is. I don't know how to feel about the Pistons. I am a basketball guy at heart. I have been all about the Pistons my whole life. I don't know what to do right now because exactly what Carl said. Shout out Carl, by the way. Almost ruined my NBA fandom. I have watched like 3 NBA games this season.
He's not lying either.
The Pistons, they've broken me. They have broken me. And the fact that the Lions are good and we have to sit here and have a bad Pistons team, dude, I hate every time I have to talk about the Pistons right now, if I'm being honest. What just happened right there, that happens to me every time.
Yeah, I mean, guys,
it's just so disappointing.
I mean, talking about the Pistons is like getting a tooth pulled. Like, it's just uncomfortable. Like, it's uncomfortable. Like, I don't want to do it. Like, I don't know what to say. Like, break down the trade deadline. All right, cool. Couple seconds and you got younger. Cool. All right, guys. Now
Dude, they got worse at the trade deadline. Like, you're a team that's supposed to be like building something and you got worse. Like, what is like the long-term effects of what they just did? You get rid of some cap and guess what? The guy who's ruined everything gets to spend the money in the offseason. Like, what is like Jeff, you do a Pistons podcast.
They got a couple more second-round picks so they can trade for another Monte Morris and another Joe Harris this offseason.
Didn't they give second-round picks up 2 days ago? Like, what did they do? Just cancel out second-round picks in this trade deadline and get rid of guys, and then you just like, oh.
Yeah, no, listen, Booner, you're right. Like, you're absolutely right. I think I don't disagree with anything you said, to be honest.
That's why these guys should have been out of here 2 months ago when that thing was going on. And I know some of you guys are Troy Weaver stands, but it's like, dude, like you have to take a turn and move on. You have to, because now guess what's going to happen? He's going to spend money. He's going to mess up. Maybe he won't, but he's probably going to mess up. He just wasted a trade deadline and got absolutely screwed over. And now you have to sit here and now you're just going to literally all we're doing is we're just waiting for Troy Weaver to get fired now. And he's going to go spend all of our money. And then we have to wait another 4 years for another rebuild. That's literally all that's happening. I'm sorry. All right, you guys. I'm so sorry.
Oh gosh, I just
you're cutting deep into Jeff right now.
No, yeah. I mean, I just don't know how it gets better. And I said this, Boone, before you joined. The only way it does for this franchise is if Ivy and Cade next year or because Cade's playing. I mean, his numbers are all-star numbers, but those two got to be all-stars. Duran's got to take the next step. Like Asar's these guys got to turn into stars, or else you're cooked. Like, you're not getting anybody in free agency, and you don't have the assets unless you trade one of your young players that are now I'm not talking about Isaiah Stewart. I'm talking about like a Jaden Ivey, like a prime piece. Yeah. Go get a stud, and that's where they're at. Like, I don't know. I wish I had the path to get back, right? Like, restore.
I have the Booner path. Fire No, there is a Booner path. Fire everyone. Sell the team. And then we're on the path. We could start the path after that, but that's the path. It's and what Carl said, who's going to want to even sign in Detroit right now?
No one. Right.
Like, you have all this money. What are you going to do? Go get mid players and build another mid team?
No,
there's no culture. There's nothing, dude.
No, and there isn't anything. That's why, I mean, if you still watch them, and usually I'm pretty good with like keeping up with them. That's how I've always been. I have not watched a Pistons game in probably a month, and that's just I just checked out. That's where I'm at. Like, I can't watch it. It's actually depressing. And now that the Lions are over, I don't watch anything. Like, that's where except for the Red Wings. I'll check in with the Red Wings.
Hey, tap
other
in.
than that, so Mike, you win. All right, you win.
Mike, can I ask you a question about the Wings?
Yes, sir.
I have a bet. I think I told you about it. Nick from Woodward Knights, he convinced me before the season started to put everything I had responsibly on the Wings to make the playoffs, like plus 150, 170. And then I did everything I had left in my betting account at that time. I went right on the Wings. Am I looking good? Am I good?
I think you're looking good. I want to say something came out the other day, like with the rest of the schedules. It says they have like a 50-something % chance.
Woo!
And they've been playing really well. And obviously you have the trade deadline coming up, so you would hope they make some moves. But I do like their chances. And I honestly, the way they've been playing, if Alex Lyon can keep it up, they'll have a strong shot at even winning a playoff series if they can keep it up. The defense has been playing better game by game. Obviously, they still have some stuff to get figured out, but the forwards have really came on and they seem like they had the goalie situation figured out. So I like that bet. I'm actually a little surprised that what'd you say it was like plus 185?
I think I got it like plus 170. I'll have to double check when we get off the show, but
yeah, I'm surprised it wasn't a little higher to start the year. I mean, D-Mac, we're always pretty high on the Wings doing well this year, but I'm surprised that like nationally they were getting that type of hype. So that's good though. I mean,
should take a field trip.
DBY.
Should take a field trip to the Wings game.
Crunch time field trip.
I still have yet to be to a Wings game.
I would love to do that. That'd be so fun.
Guys, I wanted to segue because I think we had enough of this. I think we're done.
Dang.
I want to bring this up here. At least from this past Lions season, there's so many moments that stick still in our minds, and you can even bring up the playoffs or whatever you guys want to bring up. But I want to ask the question, at least for top 3 favorite moments of the year so far for the Lions, like top 3 favorite memories, moments, whatever it's however you want to look at it. For me, and I'll say this, my favorite moment. I'll just say my first one here. I'll bring up, and if anyone agrees with me, go ahead. I'll bring up week 1, pick 6, Brian Branch against Mahomes. That's up there.
Hard to keep it off.
Yeah, I had that at my number 3.
Like that? My God.
That's your favorite? That's your number 1 moment?
Well, I don't have them in order. It's one of them.
Oh, okay. I had that at number 3.
Okay. To start the year, to do that, Boone, like I was.
Cool. I put that at number 3 because I put in my notes, it just set the tone of the season. Like you're just going to the defending champs on the road. You guys remember all the Lions fans that were there? A rookie, pick 6, like everything. That like set the tone on the whole season. Like, hey, this is what the Lions are about this year, and this is what we're going to be. So like, I had that at number 3. I like that one. I think that was one of the biggest plays of the season, to be honest.
And no, go on.
Oh, my bad.
No, you got any thoughts?
No. Are we doing like 3 at a time? Like go through.
That's fine. I'll go through my next one. So for me, the next thing I have here, and this is another individual play, or it's really a game, but Gibbs' game against the Raiders. That game for me, like I know we were watching it together, Boone, and we watched Gibbs have that monster game against the Raiders, and that to me like solidified. Yeah, he's gonna be a dude. Like that game, that was early on in this. That was like it wasn't too early, but it was a decent point in the season where I'm sitting there watching. I'm like, yeah, this guy's going to be a star. And after that, you just saw Gibbs continue to be impressive, continue to make plays. So I think that he had like almost 200 yards. I think it was over 200 yards combined yards against the Raiders. I know they won close. It wasn't an ideal game to watch. I was a little scared throughout that game. But Gibbs' game against the Raiders is one of those memories that like it sticks in my head. Go reflecting back. And then the third one I have easily when they clinched the division. That's easy against the Vikings. Like that to me is when everything kind of hit me at once. And I'm like, wow, we're watching a different organization, a different team. And the fact that I got to see that was awesome. So those are my 3.
I think I did my homework wrong because I went like single games and I didn't do just regular season. I did playoffs as well. Is that okay?
That's okay.
No, you can do
anything you want. Anything you want.
So number 3, I had the Kansas City Chiefs game and the pick 6. I think that, like I said, set the tone. Number 2, I had the Detroit Lions actually beating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and going to the NFC Championship game at home. I just think like that's like to go to the NFC Championship game when you know the city was just off the charts, like everything about it. Another home playoff game. And then number 1, I think this is like undisputed, like unquestionable best moment of the year. I think it's at home. First home playoff game since the 90s. First playoff win since the 90s. You get to beat Matthew Stafford comes back to town in Detroit. The city of Detroit and the fans got to see a Detroit Lions playoff win for the first time in like 30 plus years. Like I think like the whole season, we all talked about division and a playoff win. They went and got the division. Obviously, I could put that in there. But the number one thing I think was good to win a playoff game at Ford Field for the people. And they did that with Matthew Stafford in the building, and they did it against him. I think that's like it was history. You guys saw like national media just rallied behind it. I'm sure there's a 30 for 30 that's going to be made in the future about it. Like it was just storyline was insane.
Yeah, no, I had the line. I had no order. Mine were just kind of all over the place. But the Rams game, obviously, the playoff win was 1. Number 2, I've already seen it in the chat, was the Craig Reynolds block. It really just kind of solidified the mentality of this team and like what's to come. And then the third was the game against the Chargers. And for no particular reason besides that the offense was just fantastic. They went punch for punch with the Chargers the whole game. You've seen Gibbs and Monty combined for 183 touchdowns. Goff threw for 300 yards, 2 TDs. So it was really like that game. And that was like a spot game. A lot of people thought we were going into Los Angeles. I'm pretty sure we were on a winning streak at that point in time. And like they thought we were going to drop that game. And then we go punch for punch with the Chargers, seal it off with a field goal. And you really saw the offense come alive. And like that game, I don't want to say set the tone for the offense because we knew how good we were going to be. But I want to say it was a turning point because you literally seen the Lions offense hit it from all angles. So it was good. I like the Chargers game.
I like that. That Chargers game was electric. Yeah. Electric.
Oh, the Demont run. I almost had that on mine. I was thinking about it when he took that 75-yard touchdown run. That was like one of my like peak moments of the season, just because I knew David could get loose, but I didn't think like that. And the fact that he house called it, that was on there. But me, number one, without a doubt, not a specific play, not a specific game, but Sam Laporta. Sam Laporta, his rookie campaign will be the one thing that I remember more than anything else in just the year of Sam Laporta. The year that he walks in the locker room, they go to that NFC championship game. What do you know? What do you know? Obviously, it's not all of his fault, but it was just fun watching him develop, and you can see that he's going to be a future All-Pro, and he already is this year. 2, I have the Derek Barnes pick on Baker, because especially watching Derek Barnes miss that sack against Dak Prescott, and he had people like me that were kind of hating on Derek Barnes. To see him pick off Baker Mayfield in crunch time for his first career interception, that was one of the best moments of the year. And then third, I'm surprised nobody brought this up, Aiden Hutchinson against the Chicago Bears at home, the strip sack on Justin Fields to complete the comeback. That's my top 3. And I was coming back from Florida during that game, so I couldn't even watch it with the fellas at the studio. So I was just watching on my phone, freaking out on the plane by myself.
I didn't even think about doing plays, to be honest, boys. I like that. The strip sack. Like I saw people in the chat put that. I was like, oh man, it's a good one.
Yeah, there's some like honorable mentions too in there. Like there's
season.
There's definitely some good ones. Unfortunately, I gotta leave.
Are you out, Jeff?
Yeah,
Oh, man.
The people will understand.
We'll let the people know, or if you want to even now.
No. Focus is on this show. You don't have to let the people know. I will tell you this, guys, before I leave here. I want to announce this news, and you guys can break it down because it wasn't surprising. I mean, it's good that the Lions are already having an active offseason. But the Lions hiring Deshae Townsend as a new defensive passing game coordinator. At first, I read passing game. And then I'm confused.
Yeah,
I locked in and I
fell apart.
Yeah, because I was like Tanner Engstrand. I mean, hold on. I'm hitting the panic button. But Deshae Townsend as their new defensive passing game coordinator. So at least they're actively trying to fix how bad they are at corner. I'll just say that. Just say that. But fellas, do a great job. I'm sorry, guys. I'll be back tomorrow. These guys are gonna crush.
Whatever.
Do it for me.
Whatever, dude.
Can you like the stream? I will appreciate that. Like
Love
the stream,
like
the stream, and support the boys. I'll see you guys.
We'll tell everyone at the end of the show where you're going.
All right, thank you. But no. Let them enjoy the stream.
Comments are great.
All right, all right. See you, fellas, man. Hold it down.
Later, Jeff.
Yeah, Jeff.
Love you, Iafrate. No crush.
Oh my gosh. Oh, I like the 3 cam. Oh, well, we gotta go back to the 3 cam. Hey, real quick, fellas. I did some research on this guy and Lucas. I think you're gonna like this guy. Did you do any research on him?
What do you mean?
On the new pass game coordinator on defense.
Oh, no.
I did some research here. This is good. This is good for the fellas because he's going to be the pass game coordinator on the defensive side of the ball. He's going to also, this is the biggest thing, and a lot of people left this out. He's going to be the corners coach as well. So Dre Bly obviously was the corners coach. I don't know if he's leaving, but I think just adding another piece to Dre Bly, like to kind of help that out. And he spent the last 2 years in Jacksonville as well, the defensive passing game coordinator and the DB's coach. So like he is a dog. Like he has 2 Super Bowls. He knows what he's doing. I think what they're doing, you guys could correct me if I'm wrong. I think they're just like, they're not firing people. I think they're just adding more people to the staff.
No.
Like, I think they just want like Dre Bly and Townsend to be in there. Like they want dudes on this staff to turn this thing around, which is like, they're addressing the holes, fellas.
I would imagine if they were getting rid of Bly for this guy. I think they would have let Bly go before. I think to your point, they're just they realize what their weaknesses are and they're trying to find ways to strengthen them. And you go out and get a guy like that. That's how you do it.
Yeah, obviously we've seen how much our corners struggled, especially towards the end of the year. So adding additional staff to, address that need, you can't ever go wrong with that. And like Lucas said, I don't believe they would do Dre Bly like that. If they were, I think they would go about it in the utmost respectful way and kind of let him know. And I think Lions fans would have already known about that before they go on and make a different hire. But yeah, hopefully Dre's back, and hopefully that's just to get him some additional help and figure out what's going on in the cornerback room.
It's probably a good thing too. Like, you're about to add some corners to this room. Like, at least I would say 2
They
corners.
better.
Yeah, so you add 2 corners and you bring him in, and you also have Dre Bly. Like, now you're starting to set a little bit of a tone. And Dan's not going to bring in a dude that's going to be like, he's not coming in to help kind of make this thing and kind of move this engine along. So I kind of like the fact that they brought him in. I'm not going to lie. I think just bringing in new corners and bringing in some new DBs. Lucas, you said two corners last night when we did the show, or that what was that the
at least in the draft. I hope they at least, whether it's through the draft or free agency, they need at least 2 corners, because I'm trying to, like, Jerry Jacobs, Vildor. I like them, but those guys, again, respect them. Not starting lineup material. I'm sorry, especially Jerry had a nice stretch at the beginning of the season. I don't want to see him in the starting lineup. So if you can get those guys rotated, that's fine. But you need at least a guy to go on the opposite side of Sutton, and then preferably, so when you want to, you can put Sutton down in the nickelback. You get another one as well on the perimeter. They need 2 perimeter guys for sure.
Yeah, like we talked about Gilmore, you got to add some sort of veteran corner that, gives you like almost some safety when it comes to that position. And then obviously I do think you address at least one of your picks to cornerback in this draft. You don't want to be throwing all young guys out. You don't want to put your trust on a rookie, obviously, with the Cam Sutton situation and some other guys being juggled around. But you have to go get a veteran guy like a Stephen Gilmore that can go in there right away and maybe take over that cornerback one, or at least just take some pressure off Cam Sutton some of the time.
Oh, and I think too, and while we're doing the show tonight, boys, just want to throw this out there. The NFL awards are going to be going on. It looks like Steve Lehman just put in there, and I guess we can check. I could check on Twitter. Looks like Jim Schwartz just won Assistant Coach of the Year. Was Ben Johnson up for that award?
I'm not too sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming so.
Wow. And Jim Schwartz won it. Yeah, it says Brown, Ari Marov, Browns DC, Jim Schwartz has been named the 2023 Assistant Coach of the Year. Wow. That's crazy. I don't know what
That's
time.
pretty wild. If he won, I mean, I'm not mad at it. I told you guys over and over again about Stefanski and being
Yeah, I guess so. I just Ben John. I don't know, dude. I guess that defense was insane. The Browns defense.
It was, and it deserves a lot of credit for, how they played down the stretch. Obviously, Joe Flacco stepped up from here and then, but he obviously did have a lot of turnovers, but he got him some points too. But the defense was always holding it down, even though when they did battle injuries. We lost Lucas.
Did we just lose Lucas?
Yeah, that his internet's probably going through it.
Oh, there's no way. Oh, dude. Hey, by the way, too, I just want to shout this out. I have control of the whole thing now here. This is unbelievable, Gentry.
I wish I had.
I could do anything I want around here now. I'll run this place. Let's go.
I wish I had those controls. I haven't been gifted yet by Jeff. I got to level up a few times and then I'll get those. But we take it day by day.
Come on, Gentry. Or is he back? How do we put him in?
Etienne says can't.
There you go.
Etienne says can't spell Lucas without L.
Again.
Oh, I like that. Oh, this is clean, boys. Let me cook.
There we go.
This is fire.
Let me cook. As Steve Lehman said, don't give Booner the power. I would love some of the power. I would love some of the powder. So I think we have the doc coming at 8:45, right, fellas? I think that's
yeah. He'll be tuned in.
Shout out the doc. Is there anything else with this run game core or this pass game coordinator that you guys have? Luke?
No, I just think. Oh, go ahead, Gentry.
Oh no, I was just gonna say. Obviously, it's gonna help whatever Dre Bly in the cornerback room, but I just wanted to bring up that topic about Levi. Let Lucas kind of have the stage right here, because Levi. It was released in an article that he's going to be fully healthy for this coming up off season, his first fully healthy training camp. And Lucas, obviously you can see his face. He is stoked to see Levi get a full training camp in. He said he's buying his tickets day one.
Here we go.
Lucas, what are your thoughts on Levi?
Levi Onwuzurike, again, trying not to be disrespectful here, but there's not much that. There
Oh,
you go.
no,
Booner,
I'm trying to get
doing the
you.
most.
I'm trying to get you the
There-
single shot.
There's not
There
much
we
to
go.
respect about what Levi Onwuzurike has done on the field. Now, I'm not saying he's god awful, but Levi Onwuzurike, to have him as the hope factor on the defensive line, where it's like, wow, he's going to be healthy for the first time. Just stop there. The fact that it's his third season, he's finally going to be healthy, that's red flag after red flag. The man's not going to be able to get through this full season healthy if he plays meaningful snaps. When you're that large of a human and you have back injuries, they do not just magically get better. It's going to keep happening. Unfortunately, Brad Holmes is going to miss on draft picks, and Levi Onwuzurike is one of them. Do I hope that he can prove me wrong? Absolutely. But do I think there's a chance? Absolutely not. They're going to address that defensive line through the draft and through free agency, and they're not going to obviously release Levi just because of the potential that they have and the bargain of the contract that they have. But his future on the Lions, in my opinion, is this year and next year.
Do you think though, like with that, like I'm just so far at the point to where like some of these guys, like Levi, like he does have a little bit of a ceiling to where he maybe can produce a little bit depending on how many snaps, like you said, Lucas. I'm just on the point to where I'm ready to kind of revamp this defensive line, and he might be one of those guys with it. Like, maybe give him a chance towards the back end of the D line crew there, especially when he's going to have a full offseason, the first offseason of his career, that he's actually fully healthy and kind of actually go out there and compete in the offseason. Like last year, he wasn't able to be in the offseason workouts. I don't even know if he was able to be at training camp, or if he was, for how long it was and how healthy he was. So I'm interested to see what he does when he's actually healthy for a full offseason. Maybe he becomes that, that ceiling that we talked about before. Maybe he hits that ceiling this summer because he actually has time to do it, because he never has in his career. So maybe there's that, but I'm just so on the fact. I just want to see at the end of the day, like a revamped defensive line this season.
A
I'm going
legit,
to die on that hill.
legit option.
Yeah, like I'm going to die on that hill.
Obviously, this is probably his last shot, to really make an impact. And he does have the full training camp, fully healthy to kind of get back at that. But like Booner said, I don't know at this point in time that I even want him to be taking reps or snaps away from someone. Sure, you can sprinkle him in every now and then and kind of just get him like a refresher. But like at this point, you need to go get new guys in there and revamp it. You can't go into another offseason just relying on guys that, like Lucas said, hasn't been healthy in 3 training camps. So it's just at this point in time, like it's time to call it quits basically on him,
like,
and just
are we
explore
at the
different
point
avenues.
And like the Lions, like we're at a point to where you're like the 49. I'm going to say all offseason, you're at the 49ers level now. Like you're competing every single year for a Super Bowl. You can't afford to just be like, hey, we'll just keep taking a shot at, like, I get, like, let's take a shot at this guy and see what he could do. No, like, if you have to keep taking a shot at a guy and with injury or not, like with an injury, like he might just get injured again, and then you just wasted it again when you could have gone out and got someone else. Yeah. Again, I will stick with him this offseason and see what he does, but I'm not going to sit here like we better have someone in the wings waiting to where if he doesn't work out come week 1, week 2, week 3, you have someone else ready that can go in there and make an impact, because we're not at the point to where we can just sit here and we have the luxury just to be like, oh, well, like this is still a rebuild. We could just wait on a Levi Onwuzurike to kind of get, like, we're not at that point, in my opinion. And maybe like that's just not where we're at. And like we're at a contending level to where you need dudes who are going to go out there and be reliable and compete week after week after week. That's where I'm at with it. Like I'm going to die on that hill this year when it comes to the defensive line. I'm going to ask for a lot of guys out, and I'm going to ask for a lot of new guys in.
And I think, like, rightfully
so.
You
will, Booner. Yeah, you will.
Rightfully so. After last 2 seasons, really, you've just seen so many different question marks and so much inconsistency with the whole defensive line. I don't think there's any more room for error when you are going into next season. You have your eyes set on it, going back to the NFC Championship and making that leap to the Super Bowl. There's no room for question marks like that. You kind of wheedle those guys out through training camp, and you should have all your guys and your whole defensive line revamped by week 1.
Is there anyone else on the defensive line, fellas, that you guys feel like need to gone, like get out, like the Romeo Okwara thing? Like I know obviously he took a pay cut, but like that's a guy to me. Yeah, if you get him super cheap, but you're just relying on a guy that was very unreliable for years, and I'm just kind of over that point with the Lions. Is there any guys like that for you?
I would say Benito Jones and Kaminsky. Look,
I
mean, what they did for us in the past, that's great. But at this point, I think during the season, I don't think you label Benito Jones as a question mark. You know what he is, but it's nothing like to get excited over. And with John Kaminsky, I feel like he's almost a question mark. And you can go back to what you were saying with Levi. You got Levi, you got Benito, you got Kaminsky. They're all kind of question marks. In my opinion, what the Lions need to do is they need to add some solid pieces, and all the questions that they have, they need to turn them into answers. It doesn't have to be an A+ answer, but if you can upgrade from John Kaminsky to a veteran that's been around the league for 5-6 years that has some production, I think that's more valuable. I know a lot of people like Sweat from the Jets. If you can get a guy like him instead of John Kaminsky, that is a huge difference. Maybe not on the stat sheet, but on how you can run your defense and Aaron Glenn. I think those things are very important to answer.
And shout out Cody. Crunch time.
Shout out Cody. Let me see. Can I put that up?
Shout
out.
Oh, let's go. No, but I agree. I said
hey, Booner, you do. We keep doing it. There we go.
There we go. We kept pressing it.
Shout out Cody. Shout out.
But I said it yesterday. I'm tired of recycling 35-year-old defensive interior linemen. Like, go out there and get a dog. And I do agree on Kamish. Obviously, the past season, he kind of had some high hopes, and you got him on a good-looking deal. And then he kind of just went AWOL this entire year. So I do. You got to address it. Those were the two guys that I immediately thought of, Lucas. So
can someone break down the Benito Jones thing to me? Because it felt like for a little bit he did make an impact. And when Bugs kind of left, Benito was like all we had. Is it like, do you guys feel like he was that bad, Benito Jones, where it's like he needs to be out? Because I felt like he did step up at times, and in like for a guy like him, like he's not going to be your starting interior guy with McNeil next year. But I mean, if we're talking depth here, fellas. Benito is a good
depth. I wouldn't mind it, but he's not like a finishing piece by any means. Like if you want to bring some other guy in, and then you have Benito sitting behind him, give him a break here and then. But like, it's not like I'm living and dying if we bring Benito Jones back.
I guess that's where my mind is with these. When I'm looking at the Booner path of revamping this defensive line, I'm just looking at like, let's take some of these guys like Benito, put him on the back end here. Like he's not going to get as many snaps, but he'll be able to make an impact. And we bring a new guy in his spot, because his current spot. Like that's how I look at it. It's like the same thing with like a Kamish. Kamish was on the other end for a little while with Hutch. Like now move him back, bring in two other guys that can be on the edge there that are better than him. And now he's like your third, fourth option. That's all I'm looking at it, to be honest. Because these guys started this year for us. And like you were bad, but like if they're your third option, that's good.
Listen, all I know is I agree with you. If he's a depth piece, that is fine. But if the Lions are in the playoffs next year and they got to line up against Christian McCaffrey and Benito Jones as your nose tackle, that makes me concerned. And I think Brad sees that. I think Dan sees that. I think Aaron Glenn sees that. To your point, Booner, absolutely. I'm not going to hate it if he's a third, fourth piece in the rotation. But to be trotting out Benito Jones and you want to be the number one seed in the NFC.
Oh, there's no chance.
You want to stand up to that. If you want to be accountable and hold up to that number one seed potential, Benito Jones, rotate him. Do not start him. And obviously they didn't have any other option this year, but just true. Jeff, the pyramid scheme, you got to get all angles covered.
Hey, yep. You guys know how it is. We're going to break everything. I mean, it is the off. This is the first off season of the Booner path. Mm-hmm. So we have to. That's how I'm going to break a lot of things down here. Gentry, did you have anything else with this D line?
No, I was just seeing actually if Doc joined us yet, but no, I'm pretty sure.
It'll pop up. It'll pop up when he does. I'll add him in here.
Okay.
I'm pumped to talk to the Doc, man.
I think this is like my first time in a year being on a show with the Doc, back since before Lucas was on the old morning program over there.
Yeah, another neck of the woods.
So it's been a while for me and the Doc.
Hey, he was sitting there front row when Brad was just absolutely annihilating the media. I think he might have. I don't think it was directly, and maybe I'm just not remembering this correctly. But the Doc asked a question, and Brad didn't seem the most enthused with him. And I don't know if it was him or just through the tempo of the whole thing. But we definitely, especially Chad, if you guys want to ask him questions, drop him in there. We'll ask him for him. But I'm pumped to hear about this interview.
To be honest, shout out. Hey, and later in the show, we're going to talk about some guys for the draft here. I did have Devondre Sweat on my board, man.
Hey, did you see my post earlier, Boone?
Yeah, there's some I'm starting to get a little tease ahead. I'm starting to get a little excited for some of these first round draft picks. There are some dudes actually. Like as I'm starting to kind of watch film today, Lucas sent over a player. That's a late draft pick too.
I think he's like round 4.
Yeah,
I'm really excited what Brad does.
Yeah, because you only have one first-round draft pick, and then what do you have? 1 second? I don't even know if you like your 1 second, and then you don't. He doesn't have a. Yeah, he doesn't have a ton of the top 2 draft picks. So I'm excited. I hope he trades back. I really do, fellas. I want to ask Doc that too. I want to see what he thinks about trading back to get some more pieces there.
Oh.
Benito needs to work out with the Liam this offseason.
Slim up a little bit.
Hey,
Wouldn't hurt him.
McNeil, that was a
Certainly
difference
wouldn't hurt
maker.
him.
I want to see something real quick. I want to see what Benito Jones's contract is. I wonder if he's up at all, or if we have him for a few years. If we're gonna see
I didn't see him on the free agency post. I think he's another year, but it's definitely
I think
cheap.
he has one more.
Fellas, he's a restricted free agent.
Do you guys know the difference between that? I've always got confused.
I think a restricted is if another how do I take this? Oh, I take that down. If another team another team offers him, you can match that offer. And I could be wrong with this. Someone in the chat correct me. You can match his offer, and they you automatically get it. Like it's automatically locked in. So like you have the choice, I believe. Or I think it might be there's just like a minimum, and you just have to offer it to him, and he has to take it. I could be wrong. Because I think James Houston as well, fellas, is restricted. I could be wrong on that.
Because I remember his entering last year, there was like a thing where he's up at the end of the year if he wants to be, but I don't think there will be much teams trying to poach James Houston.
No, especially coming off the injury. I'm gonna look. The Lions did post that today, and they had like the whole breakdown, and they had three different kinds of free agents. So they have exclusive rights, and that's the exclusive rights free agents is Yodi, James Houston, Zonovan Knight, Chase Lucas, Craig Reynolds, and Shane Zylstra. I think that's just, hey, whatever you offer them, and there's a minimum, and they have to take it.
Yeah, makes
I'm pretty
sense.
sure.
Because what was Houston? He was a six round pick, right?
Yeah.
So he's not going to have that full 4 years, but yeah, to your point, those contracts in the back end kind of are flexible.
Dude, I'm 90% sure with James Houston. I like this because it's still defensive line talk, boys. With James Houston, I think with him,
the problem,
his rookie year, they dropped him, or they put him on the practice squad, and it took like a year or two off of his contract. So if they never would have done that, they wouldn't even have to worry about it, and he would still be on that 6th round salary for like another year or two.
I mean, speaking of edges on the opposite side of Hutch, do you think he takes like a step next year as far as returning? He doesn't have to be a 15, 16, he doesn't even have to be a 12 sack guy. But do you think he takes like a 6, 7, 8 sacks where he returns to somewhat of a similar form from his rookie season?
I definitely do. And I think once you get those surrounding pieces to kind of help out that defensive line, when you do mix him in on the pass rush, I think he'll be able to get home. And I think training camp's going to be huge for a guy like him. Obviously, he battled injuries, damn near all season. So he's going to have a big step, to take this summer. And but I do think James Houston's going to bounce back. And like you guys talked about his contract, that definitely blows. I think he was a guy that, realistically, had we known he had that potential, none of that would even came down to that. But I like a bounce back season for.
And real quick with James Houston, before we bring the doc on, I want to throw this out there. I think I could be wrong with this. I would like to just see him in like kind of those scenarios to where he's not like get him out there in situations where he can get to the quarterback. Because remember last year they started putting him in, try to change his position, Dude, I would just love keep him at where like what he's great at. Let him just get to the quarterback. Don't make him and put him in he was out in coverage at times throughout the year. And I just don't want to. I don't know. I don't really want to see that. I want to see him just be great at what he's great at. All right, boys, let's bring the legend out. The Doc, John Maakaron, baby. Let's see. Can we get how do we get him on there, boys?
Hold on. There he is.
Let's go.
Hey, what's up, Doc? How are we doing, man?
Boys, what's happening? What's happening, guys? Is it true? Did Jeff leave to get his balls waxed, chest shaved, all that shit?
Yeah. Hey, I hooked him up with the massage spot down the street, and then I was like, "Hey, get you a little discount," and he was on his way.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
you got the bourbon?
Yeah, absolutely. He needs it, man. Stress, right? You boys a little stressed out a little bit?
You can say
he has been stressed out the last few weeks. Doc, appreciate you joining the show as always. I'll start us off here. And first of all, I appreciate you. I know you used to come on War Nights and stuff. I appreciate that as always. Obviously, new circumstances now. First question. Want to ask you this. We're a week out of the NFC Championship game. I just want to know how you're feeling after that. I'm still emotionally I'm sure the whole chat, I'm sure everyone, I'm still emotionally upset about it. And the Super Bowl's coming Sunday, and I'm not really looking forward to it. I will watch it. But the line should be there. How are we feeling after a week out?
Yeah, first couple days, man, it was rough. You just feel shock. You're just like, man, you're that close. 30 minutes away. I was looking at flights, trying to get the sticker shock away from how expensive Vegas was going to be. I was like, shit, I might lose my mortgage gambling. Talk about the Asian parlors. Vegas is on steroids. It's legal there. So I got to be a good boy. I'm like, okay. And then they choked it away. But for me, it's a grind. You guys know, covering the NFL and covering the Lions with so many people doing it, it's tiring. So I was wore out, and I go hard. You guys know, podcasting, 5-6 stories a day, constantly reading, trying to keep up with you boys and your online antics. So I got to that point because it's an extra month for me. I'm not used to it. I'm used to finishing up the season late December, and then we do all the recaps. So after a couple of days, I got to rest, relax a little bit, sit in my home and enjoy life a little bit, connect with the family and the wife. I felt a lot better. And I think quickly, just like everybody else, once Ben Johnson was announced to come back, everybody was like, boom, let's flip the script. Let's stop being bitches and let's move forward and stop crying about the loss. And let's look to 2024 where there's a real chance the Lions are going to compete. So like everybody else, I probably had 48 hours of being sad, but then Ben Johnson got me right back on the saddle, man. I'm ready for 24, and let's look at this draft and let's get this football team better so that when they show up to the NFC title game, they whoop some ass.
That was
Let's go, Doc.
What you said there too. This was my first season, like actually being in the media and like doing a show during the Lions season. It was like doing like 7 days a week, Saturdays, Sundays for the game, doing the Kool-Aid at like midnight sometimes. It was like the longest season of all time. I loved every minute of it. But when it got done, I was like it was just, all right, now I get to take a break for a couple days. And I remember I was at Ford Field with Jeff and we left, and Jeff kept telling me like, Booner, like there's next year. And I'm like, dude, if you don't stop telling me there's next year, like just give me a day or two to get over this thing. And then we'll get back on track here. And then that was it. 48 hours later, I was like, all right, let's go. Ben Johnson's back. Let's get this thing on the road.
Yeah, Doc. And I have to ask you about it because everybody's seen the interview of Brad Holmes at that presser the other day, but you were front row and you even asked him a couple questions. So I don't really have a broad question about it, but just tell us what it was like being in that room when he was just bringing up all the receipts that all the media had to say beforehand.
Oh, shit. Here's what I thought, honestly. I was like, oh, shit. Listen, the blessing is when I run a website, I can assign different people to different things. So I assign other guys to grade the draft. And so I was like, oh, shit, we're in trouble because my guy graded Jahmyr Gibbs a D when I went back and looked at it. But we're fair. If you go to All Lions and see, he said, I'm excited to see, my writer said, I'm excited to see Jahmyr Gibbs in this offense. It's going to work, but positional value potentially has an issue when you look at running backs compared to defense in the long term. So he took an analytical approach. So you're sitting there thinking, oh, God, is he going to call me out by name? Because you guys know haters nowadays, they just take it a little too far. And the distrust of the media is so crazy. I didn't want to spend 2 days having to defend myself from the trolls. So when he called out other people, I was like, thank you. Call out one entity. That's great. So, but in the end, I love it because when Brad Holmes dunks on the media, you know people are going to pay attention to it. And it does make you look at, okay, how are we grading? It makes you fine-tune a little bit of your work. What are we looking at? How are we doing it? Are we fair? But I'm not scared of Brad Holmes calling me out. I think it's you get a little nervous having to deal with the ramifications. But in 24 hours, people forget. They get ADHD and they move on. And I was just focused in on trying to make sure I got my question in because there's so many media members there that they tend to overshadow me. So I was, boom, a guy next to me started asking the question and I got mine in and kept it going. And I just wanted to ask what he thought about improving the team. But yeah, Brad Holmes flexed and he got himself off and he patted himself on the back. And he said, congrats to me. I got this football team to the NFC Championship. And he wanted to let everyone know, look what I did, stroking himself out there in front of the public.
Doc, shout out to you. Thanks for joining us again. Obviously, I wish we weren't looking forward to next season. I wish we were playing in the Super Bowl and we were looking forward to better things. But we do have some positions to fill next season and some positions of need, defensive edge and corner particularly. Going into next season, which one of those is a bigger worry to you? And how do you think they go about addressing those positions of need?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You look at it and it's tough, too, because Brad Holmes, when you look at it, he's kind of like, honest at times, but you also recognize he's willing to do some things outside the box. He threw out there that he's like, hey, guys, don't panic based on my moves. We're going to take care of a lot of guys in-house. So free agency, I don't think they're going to make a big splash in regards to tier 1, top end, big money guys. But clearly, I think they're going to upgrade the offensive line if you end up losing Jonah Jackson and Graham Glasgow, if something happens to Frank Ragnow. You recognize you got to add some more depth there. And the key is the defense. You got to get help on the interior of that defensive line because, while Levi Onwuzurike is a guy working his way back from injury, you need a little bit more from the interior. And obviously an edge outside to help out with James Houston and help out Aiden Hutchinson. And then many people think it's going to be just one cornerback. You need two. When you look at it, you need depth there. You need two cornerbacks because Cam Sutton and Vildor are not going to cut it on any kind of level. I think Cam Sutton could be a reliable number 2, but I think you focus on that defense. And once you do that, if you move that defense into the top 10, now you're talking about getting to the Super Bowl and winning it.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. And two, I guess with the draft, we've had this conversation all week, Doc. I don't know if you've even thought about it. But with the draft coming up, Brad's kind of proven, I would say, like he likes to trade up and he will go out there and he will make a move and a big splash in the draft if he has a guy that he likes. We had this conversation though, Nick Faber over from the Honolulu Blues as well. He brought it up to us a couple days ago about actually Brad trading back and outside of the first round. And one of the biggest things, and I think the first thing everyone thought of was, the draft's in Detroit. You want that first round draft pick to be in Detroit and Campus Martius, all of that. But as soon as he said that, I kind of was like, you're sitting at 29, and what Brad loves is he loves more draft capital and loves to bring in more players. So that, like, right away, I was like, I think that might be a legit option now. Do you think, though, like, kind of in your mind, looking at the draft so far, especially the first round, what would you kind of rank this in his order of what he would do to trade up, stay put, or kind of trade back out of the first round?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I love looking at the draft. This week, you caught me at the best time starting to watch film on some of the guys in the mock drafts. Real fast, I don't have ADD, but I love looking at the chat. King Horse, you think my wife would leave me for an above ground pool boy? Are you fucking kidding me? Let me tell you this right now. My wife would never leave me. She's satisfied in every way.
Let's go.
Hey,
let him know.
You go,
Hey.
I'm a successful man in every way, and she ain't leaving. She's happy. And the other guy, listen, Steve, listen real fast. I don't think we need every position. I'm happy with the offense. I named the 3 big ones. And if you got a problem with it, listen, you're talking to a guy that knows what's going on with the Detroit Lions, been embedded with them for 5 years. And knowing Brad Holmes, and in all due respect to your guest from before, if he trades out of the first round, having the entire city waiting for a pick and partying, you're going to have a problem. Look, that's not happening. I don't think in this situation, when you look at the talent that's in the first round, I think potentially speaking, odds are probably stay there at 29 is the most likely scenario, but there's a good chance as well they move up. There's so much there's good talent that you can get out there, and you look at some of the talent that's out there. When you guys, I know the guys in the chat are smoking weed and trying to talk shit to me. When you guys start watching film and you understand what you're watching, this first round has some good stuff that the Detroit Lions could go out there and make a trade up. Maybe not big. Maybe you go from 29 to 21 or 20 to get some guys, an offensive lineman that you fall in love with. But guys, it's tough when you start seeing these mock drafts. There's going to be so many guys that you're going to see probably 20 names in the coming months in regards to who falls to the Lions. There's a lot of good players, and it's a decent draft too, in regards to the offensive line too. So you could see Brad Holmes take an offensive lineman in that first round.
Doc, bringing the Brad Holmes energy on the chat.
I love that.
I love it. But you just brought up the idea of trading up, and you talked about doing some research on some of the guys. If you had an ideal trade up candidate, regardless of where they were in the draft, if you could tell Brad Holmes, hey, just trade up for this guy, everything will be okay. It'll solve a lot of problems. Who do you think that number one guy would be?
Oh, absolutely, man. Now I went to state, so whether you love the Big Ten or not, I definitely paid attention to Oregon and what was going on out there since they were coming into the Big Ten. You look at this junior, 6'3", 320 pounds, Jackson Powers Johnson, and I think that he's going to go probably in the first 20 picks. The man can do it all. I think that he's versatile. You see the force in which he pushes guys back. The man is legit, and I think he's going to have a long career in the NFL. I would make a move for him. I definitely have caught a couple guys that caught my attention that are still I want to learn more about and see what others think. I think Cooper DeJean has some things that the Detroit Lions would like in regards to the grit coming from Iowa. Look, also, would they take another chance and solidify the offense? Would they take a chance on Keon Coleman? Would they move up for him? With the season that he had, I went to state. I saw him live and what he was able to do. I'm a big fan. If he's there at 29, you got the easiest sleep of your life. If you get Kool-Aid McKinstry, 6'1", 195, cornerback out of Alabama, that guy's film jumps out. And when you watch his tape and what he can do, I think that there's an opportunity here to pair him with Brian Branch. Oh, my goodness. There's so much.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
Yeah, Kool-Aid McKinstry is somebody out there that I think I'm waiting to see how he tests at the combine and all the good numbers and things like that. So there's a lot of good players that I think for once, maybe once Brad Holmes makes his pick this year, a lot of people are going to be happy. A lot of A and B grades.
Yeah. John, everyone that watches this show, even you, knows I'm a huge J-Mo fan and whatnot. Do you think next year he is going to take that next step and solidify him as a wide receiver too? Or do you kind of see him more easing into that role? Or like, what do you expect from Ben Johnson to kind of get him more involved in the offense and kind of cater more to his strengths?
Yeah, that's a key. That's amazing to look at when people were talking about J-Mo and the way in which the Lions slowly bring these cats along. It takes a little while, and that's what I was hoping maybe Brad Holmes would get asked about J-Mo and what he thought. You typically don't develop wide receivers that slowly, but obviously with the suspension and things like that, he had less than 400 yards this year. So you would have thought that he maybe would have been a little bit more involved, but oh my goodness, you just saw in the NFC title game, you can use them in such a variety of ways. And I think what people are going to look for is now with another offseason with Goff, Ben Johnson being back, J-Mo is not just going to be a guy that you target once for an explosive play. I expect him to get in that upper echelon window of 6 to 10 targets a game and have an opportunity to get 2 or 3 explosive plays, have an opportunity to get more looks his way. If, in my opinion, if J-Mo doesn't become wide receiver 2 next year, there's a big problem because it's all set up for him. I think he learned a lot from this year. He worked hard. The drop situation kind of went away. And I think that Ben Johnson now recognizes, man, with Sam Laporta and J-Mo elevating their games, this offense can even get better than it was in 23.
I love that. I would love to see J-Mo kind of take that step to the wide receiver to be number 2 kind of role as well. I do want to ask you that, Doc, this might be the last question. I don't know if the guys have another one, but I want to ask you this here. And I think this is something we've talked about all season long. This guy got so much hate all year long. And I keep telling people this. I've said this for the last month and a half. I said, hey, you have to get used to this guy's name, whether you like him or not. He will be in Detroit for the next 3 or 4 seasons, and he will be your quarterback. That is Jared Goff. What are your thoughts here? Do you think this contract, what's the timetable on that? A price range as well? We might have talked to you about this in the past as well. Do you think anything's changed with that? Obviously, we've heard the contracts are going to get done, and I think he's going to get his extension. But like the time of the contract, whether it's a 2 or 3 year deal, 4-year deal, the price as well. Where do you think that kind of Brad goes with that?
Yeah, Jared Goff, man, it's controversial, man. It's tough. Here's the thing. Polarizing. QB1. The man is, look, talented. He can win, gritty. They put together the right team around him. The question mark that you got to ask yourself is, and this is tough because Brad Holmes has an utmost respect for Jared Goff. You've seen that he can get you playoff wins. First and foremost, you can win a lot of playoff games with Jared Goff. You definitely can get there. You can even get past the NFC title game. You can appear in the Super Bowl. But now you got to look at value. And you say to yourself, okay, if you pay Jared Goff $50 million, what he bring to the table warrant that much money? In my mind, I think they're going to give it to him. I think the contract's going to be $50 million a year, probably for over 4 years. I think the number that keeps popping in my head is 4 years, $200 million, and they backload it. And you could actually lower the cap number for this year and, maneuver the cap around. They can finagle the numbers to make it so that this year his number is more reasonable. But now you ask yourself, at $50 million, can Jared Goff, in a game like that just happened against the 49ers, where all the shitstorm starts to happen, can he elevate his game even more to overcome players not making plays? I don't know. It's just tough to say. My opinion, if you ask me that, my answer is no. My answer is the ceiling is Super Bowl appearance, not better than an opponent that's going to have a top-notch quarterback. Just ask yourself this, if you're honest. Now, you can blow smoke up my ass and you can lie to people and say, if Jared Goff was facing off against Patrick Mahomes, are you going to be confident that the edge in quarterback is going to be with the Lions? Not really, because Patrick Mahomes is going to elevate himself to some godly level based on his talent. But when you look at it on the other side, you have trust that he can organize and keep the ship afloat when things are rough. But Brad Holmes said it. He said it's tough. It's easier to get worse at quarterback than it is to get better. There is no real replacement right now that you could just bring in here and work with Ben Johnson. So Jared Goff hit the lotto. He found an organization that loves him, that was retooling. But when you ask these high-end questions about, can Jared Goff take his game to another level? I think this is what you get. At 29, 30, 31 years old, can you really raise your level that much more to win a Super Bowl? Now, you could prove me wrong. They could retool in such a way to build a dominant defense, and you can win big games with Jared Goff. But can you win games because of Jared Goff that people want to see? I question that.
I like that. Hey, Doc, I just want to say this. I'm going to tell you the same thing I tell everyone, that it's time to get used to Jared Goff in Detroit. He's going to be here for the next 4 seasons, baby. He's here.
He's going to be here. Big fat money. He's going to be very happy being in Detroit. And look, the salary cap keeps going up. He's still going to think, if you guys look at it in terms of percentage of salary cap, he still probably will be around 15 to 18% of the total value. So it's not going to kill you. The other questions you got to ask yourself is, how are you going to pay Amon-Ra? And you got to pay J-Mo when it comes up, and Penei Sewell and Aiden. You can't pay everybody $25 million a year. There are going to be some tough decisions. And I know this year people are wondering what I think about Josh Reynolds. I think a couple guys that could be let go are Josh Reynolds and Graham Glasgow. I think those are fan favorites.
Glasgow leaves?
Yeah, look, man, you look at football, and there are some traditional staples that you look at. Graham Glasgow is over 30 years old. He wants more money. And in football, you can't pay people for what they did. You got to pay them based on what you expect them to do. Another year older, do you expect him to continue to stay healthy and weather a storm? I think you go younger at that spot. And I think you prioritize Jonah over Graham. and you move on from him, you go younger and you maybe draft somebody, like I said, or you find a free agent that's reasonable. And I think that Josh Reynolds might fall victim to the fact that you got Antoine Green on the roster and you want to continue to develop the guys that you have. But, Josh Reynolds, I'm not saying it's a certainty, but when you drop the football in the biggest game, I mean, if it was me, I'd be watching that play 50 million times. It's got to be seared in my brain that you dropped the football when we needed you the most.
So you're relying on the development of Antoine Green over Josh Reynolds?
You know what?
Look, when you ask that, you say to yourself, okay, also too, in terms of saving a little bit of money, is the drop-off going to be that much where you got to look at it too? You're going to have more touches for Jahmyr Gibbs, more touches for Sam. Jameson's going to get more involved. All you need is a reliable big target that's going to make the key play. And yeah, Josh Reynolds does that, but you caught a case of the drops at the worst time. And that's something that's got to be taken into account. Another year older. I know that relationship with Goff, that might upset him a little bit. I think that, this is a great offseason for us to see in terms of when Brad Holmes says, don't be shocked at my decisions. This is for sustainability. Does that mean I'm bringing everybody back? Or does that mean, hey, some guys like CD Deuce, Graham Glasgow, Josh Reynolds are going to be gone?
I don't hate that fact that he's saying that, because you can't keep everyone. And
you can't keep everybody.
That's
you just
a fact.
can't.
So you have to look at some guys, and some of these guys that we've all fallen in love with, the Graham Glasgow or Josh Reynolds, like some of these guys aren't going to be able to stay. That they're going to have to pick and choose some dudes, especially when you're starting to pay other people some money. Gentry, did you have another question?
Yeah, no, and that's kind of where I was going with this. Obviously, there's been some controversy around a guy named CJ Gardner-Johnson and possibly us parting ways with him. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on that. You've been around him. You've been at training camp. You've been in the locker room. You've seen how much he means to this team. What are the odds that a guy like CJ Gardner-Johnson returns to the Lions?
Yeah. Oh man. Let me tell you guys a story here. I don't know if I've told it in this way, but this forum, it'll be fun. First and foremost, Drew Vogel, you'd absolutely know what's up. John knows what he's talking about. That's why I'm invited. So pull up your ears, everybody. Let me tell you what happened. So you guys, if you follow me on Twitter at Detroit Podcast, I talk a lot of shit on there. And some of it is not the best. Some of it is, maybe will rile people up. I never thought the Lions would actually pay attention to it. I'm like, dude, I'm just a fan account. I've been running it for 10 years. My theory for that account, if you know me in real life, I'm a high energy, relatively nice guy. My theory for the Twitter page was just talk shit. And if you think it, post it. So Derek Barnes had that key mistake in front of the world, right?
Yeah.
So I go and I'm at practice, and the linebackers are doing a drill, and they do this tackling drill with this large blue thing, and they go and they run into it. So we're allowed to post videos, 10, 15 seconds long. I post a video and it says, I hope that Derek Barnes sees Dak Prescott in this drill. I think I think nothing of it. And I'm like, okay, it's just a regular post. People see it. Boom. Go back. Typically I chatted up with Matt Broder and all the other guys that are there. And all of a sudden, Alex Anzalone is standing right in my face. And Derek Barnes is sitting down, and the linebackers are pissed. And they go, why did you post that? And they're like, they're mad. And I'm like shocked at first. I'm like, what? And I said, he's like, are you trying to be funny? And I said, no, it's just a practice. I said, I should have said, well, why are you mad? I should have asked some of those questions. I just said, no, man, it's a practice video. And I think I gained the respect of the locker room because I said, if you want to talk about it, Derek, I'm right here. I recorded our conversation. So now the good thing is it was with permission. The crazy part is CD Deuce is in the back going, say it to his face. Next time, tag the man. Da, da, da. And he's getting pissed at me in my face. So I'm like, oh, what do I say to that? There's a guy, and there's like boxes in front of me. What do I say to a guy yelling at me? And he's like, turn off the microphone. Turn on the microphone. He's like, he's thinking I'm doing something crazy in the locker room. And I'm like, wait a minute. I looked at him and I said, the recorder is not on. And I said, I'm going to talk to Derek. And if you have a problem, we'll talk about it man to man. And so he was so riled up, and he got so mad. He got so mad at the media, probably because of me, other stuff that got out there that he didn't like. He shut it down and stopped talking to the media. He's like, national reporters would go up to him and he'd be like, I ain't going to talk to you guys. Step off. I'm not feeling the media anymore. So if he comes back,
Wow.
I don't know if he's going to be talking to the media at that high of a level, because he's not happy with the antics of the shit talkers and those that are writing. And I was legit, like, when someone comes at you like that, you're startled. Your natural reaction maybe is not to kind of think, I'm going to get talked to like that from CD Deuce. He was the one riling it up. Alex was more stern. Derek was, let me tell you this, Derek Barnes was so gracious and so kind. He actually listened to me, and I said, look, I have a Twitter page that I talk about. And I said to him, I said, I posted that drill that you guys did 50 times. I love watching the linebackers. Now, did I add a little salt to it? Of course.
Yeah.
But in the end, you can't back down when these players are getting mad at you. You have a reason to say these things. I wasn't disrespectful. And I told him, I said, Derek, if I was disrespectful, I would have tagged you in it. I don't want you seeing all the stuff that people were saying about you from me. You know what I mean? All the trolls that would have did it. And so he understood, and I got a story out of it. So if you know, long story short, if CD Deuce comes back, my nuts are going to shrivel, because every time I ask him a question, I'm scared what he's going to say. And he did, prior to this story I told, he called me out. You know, you're in a big room and there's a lot of media. You're trying to ask questions. So I just asked him, I said, hey, do you guys think with everybody healthy, are you guys a threat in the playoffs? Looks at me and goes, after answering everybody's question, he goes, that's the dumbest question I've ever heard. Yeah, we're a threat. And goes on his business. I'm like, oh my God, this guy's not a fan of the media. But long story short, I think they bring him back. I think that this dude is a dude that is a baller, and they like that swagger. If the general manager is going to talk shit to the media, you think they care if CD Deuce is talking to a short, balding podcaster like that in the media room? Look, I think it sucked that he got hurt. But I do see a guy that can get 6-7 interceptions, lead that locker room. Brian Branch, that vote of confidence online is going to mean something. So if you ask me, I say 80% he comes back.
I like that. And too, Doc, it seems like within the locker room too, like CJ Garner-Johnson with the players and stuff, like there's no issues within the, like when it comes to him and his teammates. I think that's like the biggest thing. I think from the outside looking in, a lot of people feel like they're like, he obviously talks a lot. Some of the stories you just told there, which is wild, like some crazy, those are sweet stories. But I feel like kind of when it comes to kind of his teammates and the team, that, like you said, Brad's out there saying stuff. I don't see his teammates being like, yeah, he's an issue within the locker room with them. Is that wrong? Or
well, like when you look at the locker room, I thought it was one of the tightest locker rooms I've ever seen. I thought that locker room was close, and I think that, you know, guys that are out there like that a little bit, like CD Deuce or like others, I think that this football team embraces it. They love competition. I felt like the leaders in that locker room, like Alex Anzalone, they kept it together. And it probably, outside of a couple little things here or there that got out there, CD was probably the most angry at the time and shut down. This locker room loves to talk. They love to speak their opinions. And I just think that this football team, in regards to who they brought in there, Brad Holmes done a great job, and Dan Campbell as well. Everybody has a role, and you never felt like this football team had anybody that was too big for their britches or was like a cancer in the locker room. There was none of that. It was just calm, relaxed, fun at times. And like I said, that was my situation, was probably the most angry that the locker room ever was. They were professional in wins and losses. So look at Steve Wild says they should have kicked your ass. They're not going to kick my ass, because I'm there every day. So I'm a nice guy. I generally don't ask super tough questions to their face. I am direct though. I think what's different than me, than a lot of the other reporters, is a lot of the other reporters will have a lot of comments early on to kind of soften the blow before they get to the part where they hit them. I am just, for me, I'm in a different boat. I'm a podcaster that has a website. So I just am direct. So I'm like, why did you fumble the ball? Or I asked Jameson, what happened on the play where you dropped the football? And he looked at it and he just looked at me and said, well, I just dropped the football, and we move on to the next play. So I do got to do a little better job of framing my questions. I'm learning that. But in the end, I just want to be direct. I don't want to, waste time, because they only give you 6 minutes to talk to a player. So if I waste 40 seconds going, well, Jameson, you've had such a nice game earlier on. You were catching the ball great. But, that one play where you didn't, it's like, that's a lot of time wasting I just want to know, hey, you dropped the ball. What happened? What did you see? So I got to find that balance of being a little bit less direct and figuring out, because for me, the relationship with the players is great, but it's not my primary goal in reporting. People like the opinions, they like the antics and stuff like that. So I could do a better job moving forward, but this locker room was great. They handle the tough questions supremely. It's a great locker room. Really, it is.
Hey, Doc. Hey, I think you kill it. You killed it all year this year.
Oh,
Appreciate
absolutely.
you joining us. You joined, I think, the morning show when Lucas was on it, the night show throughout the season when I was on it. So we appreciate you a ton this season. I'm sure we'll have you on next week as well. Do you want to shout out all of your stuff, though? I know you have a lot of things going on, especially with the draft coming out.
Oh, man. Yeah. Thank you, guys. Look, all I've always wanted was to be viewed as one of the guys. I'm no different than anybody. I just wanted to do it to prove people wrong, that a guy from the internet could show up and report on the Lions. So, it's great that in some way people would think of me in some regard like Carlos Monterez. I'm not in that category. It was funny. People said to me, they said, hey, did Brett Holmes pee on you at that conference? I said, no, I dodged his piss, man. I'm lucky. I'm thankful. It was, but in the end, I respect everything you guys do. I love talking with the boys about football. Anytime you want, I'm here. You can find my stuff on Twitter, X, whatever you guys are calling it nowadays, at Detroit Podcast. You can message me directly. I answer 99.9% of all the messages. And then if you want to go to the website, it's all Lions. You type in si.com/NFL/Lions. And hey, you boys, get your game up, because I'll be calling you each. I always return the favor. And I'd love to have each of one of you on talking sports, what you guys are up to, seeing what kind of trouble you're getting into. So if you have me, like I said, I look forward to having conversations with you guys in a lot of different ways. Anytime you want, hit me up and I'll battle the chat and we'll have a good time.
Hey, Doc, before you skate out, what's your prediction for Sunday? Can we get a score? Who's winning?
Yeah.
Great question. Let's go.
Okay, so I'm going to watch it. For a minute, I was like, you know what? I'm not feeling this, because I saw the Lions beat the Chiefs and I saw a heartbreaking loss. But you know what? I think it's going to be a real close contest. I do think that the 49ers are going to exploit some weaknesses in that Chiefs defense. It's going to go back and forth. But in the end, you can't, as objectively looking at football, until someone goes out there and is significantly better than Patrick Mahomes. I think that his connection with Travis Kelce is legit. I think Pacheco is a key for the Kansas City Chiefs. That man is balling out like no other, and that Chiefs defense is bringing it. So they're going to win defensively, make the key turnover here. They're late. I think the 49ers blink first, and I think that the Chiefs win the Super Bowl 30-27.
I love that.
I like it.
One game.
I love that, Doc.
Absolutely.
I love it. All right, hey, we appreciate you joining us. We'll see you probably next week then. Hey, let's, I guess, try and enjoy the Super Bowl, man. Let's try.
Absolutely. Let's go, boys. Let's go.
All right,
Thanks again,
you,
Doc.
Appreciate you, Doc. All right, fellas.
That was great.
What an interview,
Love
man.
the Doc.
Love
Love
that
the
man.
Doc.
I
He is the
love
fucking
Doc.
man. He's so funny and he's so great at what he does. Really appreciate that he joined. And like I said, that was my first time chopping it up with the Doc in like a year on a show. So,
Really?
yeah,
He's the
he never
man.
came on Big D Energy when I spent my time there. But I remember Adam back in the day, me, him, and Jeff, we chopped it up. So good seeing the
great.
Doc for show.
Doc is great, and he's always in our chat too, just going at people, which I respect that. I love that. Some people don't. The Doc does. You see him pop up in there. All right, fellas, let's get to the next thing here. Let's
Get
just
back
do
in
this.
the flow, baby.
Hey, let's just do this real quick because we did have a segment in there about the Super Bowl, and it's 9:20 already, and we have mailbag at 9:45. Can we haven't talked Super Bowl all week, and I know we don't want to, and we're going to probably tomorrow a little bit, and I think we might have a stream Sunday as well. Can we just talk the Super Bowl for a little bit? Doc gave out his thing. I kind of want to get your guys' initial thoughts on the Super Bowl, to be honest, because I have I already know which way I'm gonna go, and I'm not gonna go away from it. Like my brain's stuck on one. That's like you guys know me when I bet. Like when I think something, it's gonna happen, and I always win. Actually, that's a thing. But where are you guys at? Where are you guys at with this Super Bowl right now? How are we feeling about it?
As far as betting goes, man, I do not want to bet against Patrick Mahomes by any means. I think it's going to be a really good game, and I honestly do think the 49ers get over the hump. I think Christian McCaffrey is going to be a huge reason as why they do that. I mean, the Chiefs themselves are 18th against the rush, and they're pretty good against the pass, which is kind of vice versa on how their team's normally been. But I think Christian McCaffrey is going to be huge for it. Brock Purdy, you need to kind of contain what he does. Don't make him do too much. Don't make him throw anything really risky because you kind of seen it against the Lions. There was a lot of chances where the Lions obviously could have taken the ball the opposite way and changed the script of that game. So you cannot give those chances back to Mahomes. I don't see Mahomes dropping a donut in the second half by any means. So if they get off to the same start as, if the Chiefs, like the Lions, get off to a hot start, it's going to be hard for the 49ers to climb back, especially when the run game is kind of taken out. Obviously, you know what McCaffrey can do catching the ball as well, but just my stance on it.
I like that.
Shout out Leon.
Shout out Leon.
Shout out Leon.
Remember, are you kind of leaning towards that Chiefs side then?
Yeah, if I was gonna bet like a money line bet, I don't even know what the spread's at now. I want to say opened up 2.5, and I don't know if it's still under 2.5.
Yeah.
If I'm getting points with Patrick Mahomes, I'm taking it all fucking day. That's my stance on it. The best quarterback in the league. Go out there and show me you can beat him, and I guess I couldn't be so mad about losing money about that.
Lucas, where you at?
I'm with the Niners, man. I think it boils down to what Doc said. Obviously, he has the Chiefs winning, but I do not think that the Chiefs, their weakness is the wide receiver core. The 49ers weakness we saw last week was in the secondary. So not last week, 2 weeks ago. I think the 49ers are just going to be able to abuse that secondary. The strength of that Chiefs defense is with the linebackers and Chris Jones. Christian McCaffrey's still going to get his regardless. I just do not think there is a way that Patrick Mahomes is going to be able to go up and down the field as easily as Brock Purdy and the San Francisco 49ers. Mahomes is clearly the better quarterback. But in my opinion, the San Francisco 49ers are clearly the better team, and they have motivation from 2-3 years ago, losing on the biggest stage in the Super Bowl to the Kansas City Chiefs. They remember that.
All right. I'm gonna stop you for a second there, Lucas, because the 49ers just got blown out by the Ravens about a month ago. And look
at the Ravens now.
Exactly is my point there. And the 49ers was just down by 17 points to the Detroit Lions, and the Lions lost that game. And the 49ers should have lost to the Green Bay Packers as well. My point being is the last 4 or 5 games they've played, they have struggled. They haven't looked like this whole dominant thing to be 2.5-point favorites over the Chiefs. I'm leaning towards the Chiefs on this one, and not even just the spread, but money line. And it's like I see a lot of people in the chat here saying it, like, don't bet against Patrick Mahomes. Never bet it. That's where I'm kind of at here is the 49ers. They've been struggling the last 4 or 5 games they've played. Yes, they've found ways to win. They got blown out by the Ravens, but if they struggle a little bit versus Kansas City, Andy Reid, Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes, the defense with Spagnuolo, like if you struggle a little bit with this team, they are going to make you pay. And they did that with the Ravens last week or 2 weeks ago. Is the Ravens started to struggle a little bit, and guess what? They took advantage of it and they found a way to win. And yes, it was still a close game, 17-10. That's what this Kansas City Chiefs and Andy Reid, that's what they do, is they will take a lead and they will make sure they don't give it up, and they will just find a way to win. Whether it's by 1 point, by 15, whatever it is, they just find a way to win. Like that's just who they are. They have that winner's mentality. They have that like injected into them. And that's what I think happens here is I think the 49ers, they go out there. And what happens with the Lions? The Lions go up 17. I don't know if they're going to go up 17, but I think they're going to take an early lead, and the 49ers aren't going to be able to kind of come back because they're the defending Super Bowl champions. They've won 2 already. It's Andy Reid, Steve Spagnuolo. Like that defense has been on a different level the last couple of weeks. I get the whole 49ers things, but I think a lot of people are just on 49ers because they have a lot of big-time players. Because guess what? 2 weeks ago, everyone went the 49ers over the Detroit Lions because guess what? They have a lot of names, but the Lions were up 17 on them, and they're the ones that blew it. It wasn't really much that the 49ers do. They needed a bounce off of Kindle Vildor. They needed like everything to go their way, and you're not going to get that in the Super Bowl versus the Kansas City Chiefs.
You can say the same exact thing with the Chiefs, though. If Zay Flowers, for one, doesn't have the unsportsmanlike conduct at the 5 that ends up they don't even score that. Then on the drive prior to that, they got down the field and they didn't get any points. The Ravens could, and by the way, the Ravens ran the ball a total of 6 times against the Kansas City Chiefs. The Baltimore Ravens shot themselves in the foot and lost that game for themselves, just like the Detroit Lions did. If the Baltimore Ravens, the number 1 rushing team in the NFL, ran the ball 6 times and they won by they lost by 7, especially when they shot themselves in the foot with Mark Andrews back, I get it. The 49ers haven't looked good, but you can say the 49ers probably went in those games sleepwalking a little bit. There's no sleepwalking against Patrick Mahomes. I'm sorry, there's just not.
It's going to be a tough game. It's going to be
a
war.
It's just the whole thing of like, and you're not the only one saying this, but people are like, oh, the 49ers, they shouldn't have won those games, and they somehow did.
Shouldn't have.
But you can argue the same exact thing for the Kansas City Chiefs 2 weeks ago against the Baltimore Ravens, and people just don't talk about it. They talk about, well, they won by a touchdown.
You want to know why that's different? It's because the Kansas City Chiefs have won 2 Super Bowls in the last few years, and the 49ers always lose.
We're not talking about 2 seasons ago. We're talking about right now.
No, I am talking about 2 seasons ago because when I talk about winning a championship, when you just have that DNA in you, like that's what these games come down to. That's why Tom Brady went out and won 7 of them.
The 49ers have been here.
And what happened?
They lost, and that's why I'm saying they now know what happened. Especially a lot of the core
Chiefs
players like George Kittle. George Kittle is on that sideline. We will be back. I will be back here. Deebo Samuel saying the same thing. I think the 49ers, I think a lot of people, I don't agree with your statement where people are saying the 49ers have the better players. I think a lot of people are going into that it's a close game. Who are you trusting? I'm trusting Mahomes. I think a lot of people are on that side. Brock Purdy knows that. The whole 49ers team knows that. They're going to go in there with a chip on their shoulder, and I think they win that game. It's going to be close to your point, but I know I'm always the type to say don't bet against Mahomes, don't bet against Reed. If the 49ers weren't their opponent, I'd be going there, but I just think the 49ers are is the last team the Chiefs want to play right now.
Yeah. And someone asked, was it Don Rivera, give us some parlays. Me and Booner tomorrow, we'll make a little combined little something for the people for Sunday so we can get a little crunch time parlay going. But I think one of the players that is not slept on by any means because he's had a breakout year, Rashee Rice, is going to be one of the biggest factors in this game because you've seen how the secondary for the 49ers is iffy at times, and they shout out Adam too, but they're iffy at times, and you know how big of an impact Fred Warner makes. So if he's going to be shadowing Travis Kelce and there's going to be that extra help on Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes is going to go right back to Rashee Rice. And obviously Pacheco is going to be huge as far as dictating how the game goes and the flow of the game. But I think Rashee Rice is bound to have a huge
Are you trolling
game.
us? There's no way you just went the Kelce route instead of Kelce.
Sorry. I was just spitting. As I go.
I thought you were trolling us because there's that whole thing out there of being like, oh, it's Kelce, not Kelce or something. I don't know.
Ohio legend.
And you know what, too? Do you remember going to the 49ers game? Everyone said Sam Laporta was going to have a big game because, like, I feel like Travis Kelce ends up having a big game here. And
yeah,
I think we're going to give up
a big stage. He's going to show up.
Yeah. And I think we're going to see something to where, like, and I might do it. I might bet a Super Bowl MVP. I might go Travis Kelce. Just not because it's a lock. No. You have to, don't shake your head before you'll hear me out. Don't do that. Don't ever do that again.
Go.
I'm talking about value, buddy.
All right, value that's going to amount.
If we're talking value. Travis or Patrick Mahomes is going to be like minus 200, and Brock Purdy or whoever is going to be like minus 200. Quarterbacks are always minus 200. I bet you Travis Kelce has some plus odds, and you can get good odds on a Travis Kelce. And that's a guy to where we've seen in the past, him sitting there at like 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. That could get you an MVP. That, and especially that could get you an MVP.
What are the odds, Gentry?
All right, so coming in at number 1, you got Patrick Mahomes plus 150. Right behind him, you have Brock Purdy plus 210. Okay. McCaffrey plus 450.
Plus and then
For
Give me money
McCaffrey.
line and give me Niners money line and McCaffrey MVP.
Wow.
I'm gonna put 30 on and walk out of there a happy man.
And then Booner's guy coming in at 4th.
What's the value?
Travis at plus 1,400.
How do you not take that?
That
That's-
is
How do you not take
insane.
that?
That's
Give me
insane.
Chiefs.
That
Give
is
me
kind of
Chiefs
crazy.
money line. I will take Chiefs money line on its own. I'm gonna take Chiefs money line Sunday. I'm gonna put a lot of money on Chiefs money line, and I'm gonna win that bet. But on the same time, I'm gonna have a little sprinkle over here on Travis Kelce scoring 2 touchdowns and like 150 yards and winning the MVP.
150 yards is a little extreme, but I think
yeah.
that's a big game.
And
Him
I
winning
do
the
love-
MVP though, I love the odds to your point. But if there's a situation where Patrick Mahomes can win a Super Bowl MVP, they're giving it to him 10 times out of 10 for the legacy. He's the face of the league. If Christian McCaffrey goes off and Brock Purdy has a good game, I could see them
Lucas.
going Christian McCaffrey over Purdy. It's just
Tom
the way
Brady,
that
does Tom Brady have 7 Super Bowl
that's
MVPs?
a good point, but no.
Does not.
But at the
At
same
some
time,
point, other guys do get it. Julian Edelman has one. If Travis, as much of a legend as Patrick Mahomes is, guess what? Travis Kelce is one of the best tight ends of all time. At one point of his career, if he's in the Super Bowl, they're going to try and slip him.
but
a
let
Super
me
Bowl
ask you this:
MVP.
how much of a
That's a fact.
playmaker was Tom Brady? How many plays was Tom Brady making?
I get
in
that,
those
but
games? Patrick
he's
Mahomes
Tom Brady
makes
though.
Plays.
He, like you said, they want to give a legend of the game as many as they can. They gave Tom Brady, however, I think he had 5 maybe. We're talking about Travis Kelce, who's also like, if Julian Edelman could get one, I promise you, Travis Kelce can go out there and get one. And plus 1,400,
could.
the value of that is
Yeah,
insane.
that's insane.
I don't
That
hate
is
it. I don't
another
hate the
line.
take. I'm just trying to be reasonable and say there's no way that Kelce gets it over Mahomes.
And to
I
be
agree
honest-
with you that it's great odds, but I don't see it happening.
To back me up as well, too, when it comes with like betting on the game, to kind of hedge a little bit of a bet, I'm going to take the Chiefs. I'm going to sprinkle a little bit on Christian McCaffrey MVP because if the 49ers do win, he will be the MVP of the game. Like I
think
don't
so?
see I don't see a
Yeah.
scenario of Brock Purdy getting it. I
Yeah.
really don't. And,
Yeah,
the
and I
fact
do
that he's
think-
plus 250 is crazy.
Yeah, and I do think if they do win, obviously it's hugely a part of McCaffrey having a good game. But I was just going to go through some of the lines here, Booner and Lucas. You both can chime in and kind of give me your thoughts on this. Travis is open now. I'm not even saying it. Travis is open up at 72.5 as his line for receiving yards. You got Debo at 58.5, Kittle 49.5, Rashee Rice at 67, and then you got Ayuk at 62. So
Stay
So
away
pretty-
from IU.
yeah, I mean, without Ayuk catching that the pass off Vildor's dome, he wouldn't even hit his yards against the Lions, and that's
What-
saying something. So
I apologize. What is Kelce and Kittle?
72 and 49.
49 is Kittle?
Kittle's 49.
Yes.
I don't.
I
It
might take the
sounds
over.
like a smack, but man, the Chiefs, that middle of the defense right now,
Fair.
and I don't know. I mean, he probably will get it because, in all honesty, George Kittle can get that in 2 catches.
Yeah.
But Rashee Rice, what'd you say was 67.5, Gentry?
Yeah, it's actually kind of high.
That hitting the over on that 10 times.
I
out of
think
10.
he goes over,
Really?
but I did not expect it to be that high. I think he gets at least 70 yards.
I think that's low.
Really, I don't know. Just like Super Bowl, I mean, that's 5 yards above Ayuk, 10 yards above Debo Samuel, 20 yards above George Kittle. So it's like, I mean,
They're
Still
telling you
kind of a-
something. Big game, Rashee.
Yeah.
That's what about the running backs? What's Christian? Because I might go Christian McCaffrey to be honest in this game. I feel like they're going to go on the back of Christian McCaffrey.
They have to.
I feel
I
like
think both-
can I guess his line real quick?
yes,
94.5.
lower.
All right.
88.
89.5. 89.5.
Lucas on the dot.
He's got to be looking over there.
No, Lucas don't even sports bet like that all the time, so he's not searching the books like that. And then
He's over-
Pacheco's
he's
at
right now.
all right. Guess Pacheco.
68.
Lucas.
He's gonna go like right below me. I
I'm
know
going to
it.
go.
Go above me. Why don't you?
70.5.
67.
Oh,
half.
one off.
So you're one off. So I thought Lucas was going to shun you and take the one under.
Imagine if you
But,
went one under. Oh, I'd be
Mahomes
so
is
mad.
at 26.5, and then Brock Purdy, which I kind of like, is at 12.5 rushing yards. I mean, he gets one good run. He could break it. Obviously, I don't know how, as far as the Chiefs will go with locking him down compared to him breaking off those few runs against the Lions, but that's a pretty low line.
Do you know what
And then you got Debo
I
at
have
16.5 rushing.
Oh.
Never know.
Don't hate that. You know what? I have a theory in big games that quarterbacks rushing overs always hit. Like take the over because
Especially
like
Mahomes.
yeah, like Mahomes. I even think of Purdy because when you're sitting there and it's the biggest game, like a Super Bowl, it's the last game of the season. They have nothing left. Like leave everything out on the field. If there's a chance for them to take off and go get 20 yards, they will do it. And if Mahomes at 16.5, that might be one of my locks of the game on Sunday is Mahomes over 16.5.
No, he's 26.5.
Oh, even 20. I'll take 26.5. There's going to be 2 or 3 times in the game where he's going to go break off for 10 or 15 yards. And it's just because like he does not care about getting hurt right now. He doesn't care about anything. All he wants to do is go win a Super Bowl. Same thing for Brock Purdy. And I do this all the time in the playoffs is take the quarterbacks over. Like, dude, you even saw Jared Goff. Jared Goff at times in the playoffs took off and kind of went off for 5 or 6 yards. And his line was always at like 1.5. But he went out there. I want to actually look. He went out there and he would run the ball.
Against the Bucks, he had like 9 rushing yards total.
Yeah, and it's just
He
because
was
like
mobile out there.
Yeah, you're just always looking at it, and it's like, okay, so he had 6 versus the Bucks, 0, and then minus 3.5. Okay, well, you guys see my point here. It's like those guys put everything on the line.
Yeah, and 2 more lines. I'm gonna move to the QBs. Both of them are set at over 1.5 passing touchdowns, which I refuse to believe Mahomes will not throw 2 touchdowns like that. That's gonna hit, but their yards, Mahomes is at 262.5, and then Brock's at 246.5. So I mean, Brock's kind of low, right around 250 is not a bad mark for Brock, and then Mahomes 262. It's a little upwards, but I mean, Mahomes can obviously do that.
That's a high line to me.
Mahomes is hitting that with ease. He's hitting the 2 touchdowns. I think Purdy struggles to hit 250 if we're being real. Trent McDuffie, Tre'Davious Ward, Mike Edwards in the back end, Justin Reed, those guys have been balling, especially Nick Bolton too. It's going to be hard for him, I think, to throw, but I think they have success in the checkdown game. I just don't know if it adds up to 250 yards. The 2 touchdowns I could see, but even then, if you're at the 1 yard line, the 2 yard line in the Super Bowl, you trust in Brock Purdy to complete a pass, or are you running Christian McCaffrey?
I'm gonna break it to you guys here. Patrick Mahomes hasn't hit that line in his last like 6 games or something like that. And in the Super Bowls, he has hit the line in the Super Bowls. He had 286 his first one, 270. But last year versus the Eagles, he had 182 passing yards. 182. They still went out there and won. And he threw for 3 touchdowns. So it's interesting. And there was a Super Bowl where he had 0 touchdown passes as well. So I don't. It depends what Mahomes you're getting.
I mean, what do you?
Sorry, go on, Lucas.
Mahomes is showing up regardless. Mahomes you're getting.
He had 180 passing yards last year.
True.
You know what I mean? Like that's tough.
One line I do really like, just kind of browsing through these, getting ready to put something in. Obviously, George Kittle over 3.5 catches. I assume by Sunday that'll at least go up to 4.5. I think there's no way a guy like him, Lucas, you already talked about it, how great the Chiefs secondary have been. I'm sure they'll be all over Ayuk the whole game, and then they'll be running some, different type plays to get Debo involved. But I feel like there's no way Kittle doesn't get 4 catches in this game, being, Brock Purdy's safety blanket and all.
Yeah, I mean, not even with that. 3.5 is outrageous. He's going to have at least 5 or 6, in my opinion. And then to your point, it's just, and I've even said it numerous times, if it's a big stage, the Patrick Mahomes of the world show up. The Travis Kelce of the world show up. The George Kittles of the world show up. George Kittle, whenever the 49ers need a big moment, when they need some momentum, I understand that last week it was the Ayuk off the helmet. But a lot of the times when the 49ers need to get the offense rolling again, it goes through George Kittle. And I see the same thing happening through the whole game in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, dude. Can I be honest with you guys real quick?
Go ahead, Boone. Be real.
I'm gonna be real with you. I've seen the board very well this year. I just think this is gonna be Lucas. You said no tight end game. I think this is a tight end game. I think you see the two best tight ends. Well, you said Kittle. You said Kittle struggle a little bit maybe on take the under, didn't you?
No.
Well, we said his line. You were like, I wouldn't be surprised if it went under.
No, I said Kittle could get that in 2 catches.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he did have 2 catches versus the Lions.
Yeah,
Guess how many yards he had? 27.
Yeah, but I think that was just a completely different complex of a game than what they wanted.
All right. we're going to talk Super Bowl tomorrow as well as Tuesday. I think the fellas and we got to confirm tomorrow. I believe we're going to be doing a kind of a little watch stream. Nothing too crazy. I think we just have a camera. We're going to have some mics for the boys here. We'll be at a table at a bar, and we'll announce it, I think, on our – make sure you follow us on our socials, and we'll make sure we announce it.
Up there?
Probably,
Up there?
Yeah, all the socials above us, and we'll probably confirm it on the show tomorrow night. I'll text the fellas tomorrow morning, and we'll make sure we have the place that we're going to and everything confirmed. So make sure, though, drop mailbag questions. Start asking us some questions. I've got one here. Oh, you've got one?
Yeah.
Steve Wilds. Why do I smell dirty gym socks when I look at Booner? That's funny, Steve. I think Steve, to be honest, I think Steve's been a hater of mine for 8 months. Even over
You don't think he's on the Booner path?
No, if I remember correctly, Steve is a guy, and you know what too? When a lot of this stuff went down the last couple weeks, I did go watch some shows and some different things. I have some names in my notes here to where people take notes on us. I started taking notes on some people. I just want that known. So if you've gone at me, I have a little. I'm trying to find it here. Oh, not that one. I have notes somewhere with some people's names here. I don't know if Steve's on the list. I hope not, Steve. I like you a lot, Steve. What about this one? Or Eduardo O'Neill. Why was Jeff allowed into Ford Field when we know he's in there on the Lions player they're going to lose? It makes sense knowing every game he goes to is embarrassing type of loss.
I don't know. Ban his ass. We'll make sure he doesn't go anymore.
Booner was with him the whole night. Booner let him walk into Ford Field. Booner,
No.
So if there's going to be
Booner
anybody
failed
that
us.
No.
held, it's you.
Have
You
I
tried
told
to
the
get him out
story?
of there.
Have I told the story?
You tried to make up for your wrong, but you still had it wrong.
Dude, we got to our seats at Ford Field. I could not sit around people. Like, you guys see me on the streams. I could not. I was just too. I had to go up to the concourse. I started getting people on Twitter were reaching out saying, "Get Jeff out of Ford Field." And during that third quarter, when everything started kind of going the opposite way, people started reaching out and saying, "Booner, you have to get Jeff out of Ford Field."
So people are saying, "Booner, you need to do it, right?"
Yes. Guess what I did?
I didn't do it.
Who allowed it to happen in the first place? How did they know that you were going to be with them?
I don't know. But what I want
I
known,
can tell you because you went there with them and you allowed Jeff to go into Ford Field. Even after you told him not to go. You didn't even stand on your own word.
I did everything in my power. I sprinted down when I started getting messages, I sprinted down the Ford Field steps in front of everyone, thousands of people. And I just started screaming at Jeff, "You got to go. Get out of here." And I said, "I'll leave with you, dude. We'll go to a bar. We'll go watch it. So you got to get out of here, though." And he wouldn't leave. He refused. And people were telling me to leave after that. After I started yelling stuff, they were like, "Booner, you got to leave. You're yelling. You're too loud."
Right. Etienne asked, "Who's your favorite non?"
On both parts. Go ahead, Gentry. My fault.
I wish I had permission to pin stuff, but Etienne asked, "Who's your favorite non-Alliance player?"
Non-Lions player? Joe Burrow for me, probably.
Does that have to be football?
Yeah, obviously. He said non-Lions.
Oh.
Like, bro, what?
I'd go Joe Burrow for me. I'm trying to think who else. I like a lot of receivers.
I've got one.
Yeah, love Tyreek Hill, obviously.
I think everyone knows.
I'm a big Adam Thielen guy. Wore 19 in high school for him.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of them. I do really like Tyreek Hill, though. Huge fan of him. Always tap into the Dolphins game. Keitho asked, "What betting app do you guys use?" I think we all use FanDuel.
By the way, too, Josh Allen would be mine, boys.
Well, we know.
Yeah.
I just want to.
Hey, if not, it'd be Will Levis.
Yeah. Shout out Will Levis. Let's see what else we have here. More
Let's
questions.
Keep dropping questions and make sure you sub if you haven't already. Like the stream for the fellas. Share the stream for the fellas. Subscribe to the show for the fellas.
What about this one? Timothy said Kelsey and Kittle over 12.5 receptions plus 200 on ESPN bet. I don't hate that's a lot. 13 is a lot.
Not with Kelsey, bro.
I guess Kelsey could go off for a 7-8. He might get 10 himself in a game. Like, he easily could.
Kelsey, his line was at 6.5, and then Kittle's was at 3.5. Kind of do what you will with that, but I don't hate it, but not like in love with it by any means.
Alrighty, Eduardo, do you think no huddle or the tempo would help the Lions in the third quarter? Honestly, no. I think the Lions in the third quarter, they try to get way too cute. They get away from running the ball in the third quarter. the Lions a lot of the times had the lead. I think that's your opportunity to impose your will and just be physical and take the soul out of the opponent. That's the David Montgomery quarter, in my opinion. That's when David Montgomery earns his paycheck, because in the fourth quarter, you turn it into the Jahmyr Gibbs show. In the third quarter, Lions stick to your identity, run the football, and do not get cute. I think that was one of the biggest weaknesses throughout the season this year.
Hey, can we just do a quick 5-10 minutes on this Lions third quarter thing real quick? We haven't talked about it yet.
The third quarter?
Yeah, we talked about it a little the other day. It was like a 2-second thing, and then we went over it. That I said it yesterday. That falls on the coaches, in my opinion. And I heard the heavyweights talk about it a little bit too. Yeah, and the heavyweights I think they were kind of split on it, where Easy was on the side of it's the players. The players need to be better in the third quarter. I'm just on this thing, and I coached for a long time in the college kind of ranks. And
Coach Boone?
Yeah, like when you're sitting there, like, if you don't have a good game plan or adjustments at halftime, like you put your players out there to fail. The players aren't every single game going to be the problem. At some point, you have to look yourself in the mirror and say, what's going on in this third quarter? This isn't the players at this point. How can we make adjustments? And even if you think it is the players, it still falls back on you to figure out a way to kind of get that job done and help the players to figure it out. Because you go all year long, and you knew, like, that was a thing going into the playoffs, the third quarter, the woes. That was a conversation we had going into the San Francisco game, the third quarter woes. And guess what happened?
Mm-hmm.
You're up 17. The third quarter woes come around. The third quarter, as everyone says, and that was an actual narrative that was out there for the Detroit Lions, which is an issue. So as a coaching staff, you have to come together and say, hey, what are we going to do here? Like, we have, like, obviously what we're doing isn't working. And I truly think, that they would have a good first half, and Ben and AG, they would just be like, hey, we're not going to change anything. Let's keep doing what we're doing, boys. Let's go back out there, do exactly what you did in the first half. Guess what? The team made adjustments on the other side of the field, and you didn't. And you didn't change up your game plan or anything. So that's where I'm a little, like, I'm kind of on the side to where those coaches need to figure that out this offseason and in a big way. And that falls back on Dan Campbell. And I'm a Dan guy too. Big Dan. I do agree with you to a certain extent, but sometimes it was vice versa with Ben Johnson, because he would do something so well in the first half, like you see in the 49ers game, and then kind of run away with it in the second half and try and be too cute, try and do too much. Like Lucas said, and we talked about yesterday, not giving Monty the ball out of the second half was just egregious. And some of the play calls, like doing too much, trying to be too cute with some pass plays, play action plays, just going away from what really made them a dominant offense was what I felt like was the biggest problem. But I think a lot of what you said was fair. Is this Eduardo comment true?
Well, Ben said he waits to see what to do before he starts. And honestly, to Eduardo's point, if that's what Ben does, I wouldn't be surprised, because it's a glaring weakness. Ben Johnson, and to start out games, he's on fire. But to your point, Booner, at halftime, the San Francisco, the 49ers, the Green Bay Packers on Thanksgiving, they go into halftime and they realize, all right, we just got punched in the mouth. We have to respond with some type of answer. And sometimes I feel like when the Lions get punched in the mouth in the third quarter, it takes them a little bit before they fully adjust and get right back into the game plan. I think Ben Johnson, Dan Campbell together, I don't think you can put a just on Ben, because at the end of the day, Dan is the head coach. At halftime, they do need to come up with better adjustments and how to not change their game plan from the first half, but to tweak it a little bit so you can continue to further execute on it. I think that costs them many games, and I hope it, with more talent on the defensive side too, I think it becomes less of a problem.
Does that go on Dan at all? I think it kind of falls on.
It has to, because at the end of the day,
step up.
At the end of the day, Dan Campbell's the head coach. If Dan Campbell sees a problem and tells Ben, you need to do this, it is then Ben's job to go out there and execute what the head coach tells him to do. If Dan's constantly giving him free reign and sees that, Ben, you're not adjusting well in the third quarter, and doesn't say anything and just lets it happen, that then has to go on Dan as well.
That's crazy that they, like, towards the end of the year, the Ben Johnson stuff, like, he did take a little bit of a hit. And I was kind of one of those people too. Like,
still number one OC.
Still the best OC in the NFL, but there was games, like, do you remember that Dallas game, the first three quarters? How many drives did you put together that were great until you had that game tying drive? You didn't really. You maybe had 1 and 3 quarters, and I think that was the thing. So I think Ben does have a lot to, like, is him being the number one OC in the NFL, and he still has a ton of room to grow. Like, that's kind of wild.
I got something. It was just texted to me. Will Anderson. I don't know how many other awards have been announced. The chat can back us up on that. But Will Anderson won Defensive Rookie of the Year over Jalen Carter.
Wow. Do you know who I
Bring a
actually thought?
smile to my face. My God. Do you know how annoying that was listening to Jalen Carter's, like, just how he should have been in Detroit up until like week 7 of the NFL season? Ridiculous. I've never seen a fan base cheer for another team's rookie more than Jalen Carter with the Detroit Lions. Absolutely absurd.
Do you know who I actually thought had a chance to win that award? Was Devon Witherspoon.
Yeah, Devon Witherspoon for sure.
Lucas, another one here with that.
Yep.
Offensive Rookie of the Year.
It's got to be Stroud.
Yeah,
CJ Stroud, the guy that you hated on. Oh, this one makes me mad. And this is I have a problem with this one. I have a problem we need to address with this one.
All right.
I have a very big problem with this one. Defensive Player of the Year. Do you guys want to take a guess who won it?
Give us the candidates.
Wait, was it Michael Parsons?
It was not Micah Parsons.
I don't care.
I'll wait. I'll let you guys guess. I don't want to give the candidates because I don't know.
I'm trying to think.
It was probably Myles Garrett.
Yeah, Myles Garrett probably had it. Max Crosby should have won it.
No.
It's neither of those guys.
No. It's Myles Garrett won.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I do. He was the best player on one of the best defenses in the league, man.
TJ Watt. TJ
Watt got hurt.
Dude, okay, he got hurt and still led the league in sacks,
yeah.
and he led Myles Garrett in every statistical category. But it's just, hey, let's just ignore that and let's just move on. Because without TJ Watt, guess what? They don't make the playoffs. TJ Watt single-handedly wins the Steelers games. That is a fact. Single-handedly.
Yeah,
Myles Garrett does not. He can. But guess what? You take Myles Garrett off. Yeah, yes, it's going to be not as good of a defense. TJ Watt single-handedly will win you a football game week in and week out.
You're absolutely correct.
I think he's the best defensive player in the NFL. I've been saying it since week 1. I might be a little biased because I picked him to win Defensive Player of the Year before, but I just think like TJ Watt, he's the best in the NFL. He missed games, led the league in sacks, led Myles Garrett in almost every single statistical category. Every single one. Everyone. Name one. I'll pull it up and look it up for you guys.
Yeah. Booner, everything you're saying is correct, but I think there can be TJ Watt is the better player, but I think sometimes Myles Garrett, there's times when there's people that have better season than those players. I think that's just an example, but in my opinion, I think it's absurd that Max Crosby didn't win it. I had
a bet on him, dude. I had a big bet on him.
I don't even think he was like top 4.
Because he wasn't on a winning team, though, to be honest.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm just saying.
Give up.
No, I was just saying it's more
TJ Watt.
Like crazy. Yeah.
Do you guys want me to name some stats here of TJ Watt and Myles Garrett?
No, let's
get
back to the questions in the chat, the mailbag. We kind of shied away.
Real quick, TJ Watt 68 tackles, Myles Garrett 42. TJ Watt 19 sacks, Myles Garrett 14. TJ Watt 19 tackles for a loss, Myles Garrett 17. TJ Watt 8 pass deflections, Myles Garrett 3. TJ Watt an interception, Myles Garrett 0. Forced fumbles, TJ Watt 4, Myles Garrett 4. Fumble recoveries 3-1. Every single category.
Booner, did they announce Coach of the Year?
Someone said it was Kevin Stefanski. Dante
I just read that. If Kevin Stefanski won Coach of the Year, we might end the stream.
They just announced it 59 seconds ago. 59 seconds ago.
We might have to end this fucking stream.
There's no way.
If Kevin Stefanski won Coach of the Year over Dan Campbell, that is the most cherry-picking thing I've ever seen in my life off recency bias ever. Joe Flacco with the New York Jets did to Kevin Stefanski this year what happened to him. Joe Flacco did not get unlocked by Kevin Stefanski. I'm sorry. Jim Schwartz won Assistant of the Year, as he should have, but Kevin Stefanski winning Coach of the Year is just broussarded. I think there's mental illness with that decision. It's absolutely ridiculous. Fucking ridiculous.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe this. I can't believe this.
Kevin Stefanski, even over D'Amico Ryan.
Give it to D'Amico Ryan.
Yeah.
I would rather have D'Amico go win that award than Kevin Stefanski.
Shit. They should hold Coach of the Year to Joe Flacco. That's what they should do.
That's funny. And Dave Burkett just tweeted out, I know there was kind of some rumors around his future, that Frank Ragnow says he is not retiring. So Big Frank will be back. I mean,
Let's go.
that's great news. Obviously, huge part. He battled some injuries, but
so
everyone knows what he means to this team. Lucas, it's going to be all right. It's going to be okay. I know.
Disrespectful to the brand of the NFL.
Dude,
Stefanski now is a 2-time coach of the year, and he's won 1 playoff game in his fucking life. Do you know how absurd that is?
Kevin Stefanski won his first one because he took the Browns to the playoffs when they haven't gone in 30, 40 years. Guess what Dan Campbell just did? He won 12 football games, really 14 games in the season, and he took the Detroit Lions to the got a first playoff victory in over 30 years, first division NFC North ever, first division title since the 90s. It's disrespectful, and I'm with you too, Lucas. Like, if you're not going to give it to Dan Campbell, give it to DeMeco Ryans, who went from literally nothing and took a team that no one expected to go to the playoffs and won a division. It's it's actually disrespectful. Shout out to Frank Ragnow too.
I actually got some. This is Robert. I don't even know how to pronounce his last name. Maddie. He said the AP Coach of the Year, Stefanski wins with more first place votes, and he had 1. Stefanski had 21 first place votes compared to DeMeco Ryans 20, and DeMeco Ryans had 21 second place votes. Obviously, Stefanski had 18. So, and then Dan Campbell only had 3 first place votes.
It's probably all from Detroit too.
Yes,
to be honest, or the NFC
kind of
North.
just break that down. It really was a 2-man race. Dan Campbell was not close.
It's kind of embarrassing for the NFL, if I'm going to be honest. That's
what I'm saying. That's absurd. So the Browns had Assistant of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, and Head Coach of the Year.
Yeah,
ridiculous. And they got bounced by C.J. Stroud, a rookie quarterback, and DeMeco Ryans by like 30 in the wild card.
I also have another crazy stat. Was sent to me on Twitter. Myles Garrett had 1 sack over the final 7 weeks of the regular season, which ranked 139th in the NFL. 138 players had more sacks down the stretch than the guy who won Defensive Player of the Year. And that was tweeted out by Daniel Valeni.
Who are all those people in the chat who were just, Booner, just throwing out stats? Just, no. Sit back down. That's TJ Watt's award. That's embarrassing.
And
these awards shouldn't even count anymore. Hang up the awards.
Funny thing about it is right below that tweet is TJ Watt's tweet, and he said, "Nothing I'm not used to." So kind of put a bow on that.
TJ Watt's won Defensive Player of the Year before.
Multiple times.
TJ. Yeah,
but no, I say this all the time. He is in that category like where LeBron was getting the MVP. It's like you just can't keep giving it to the same guy. I think he has 2 of them, but it's just like, hey, we just can't give it to you every year, TJ. Like you're going to put these numbers up. We have to spread it around a little bit. But at the end of the day, TJ Watt is the best defensive player in the NFL, in my opinion. I don't think there's an argument about it. The last 5 years.
And shout out my boy Eric. Eric Lausch in the chat. Supporting the boys. He was the one who sent those all to me, so I was reading them off. Shout out Eric.
Shout out Eric. Hey, and shout out to Frank Ragnow. I think that's huge. I never saw him retiring. I could see like there was like a little bit of a question because obviously the toe. I just could never see him. If you lose an NFC Championship game, as long as he's been there in Detroit, there is no way he would have stepped away from the game, knowing that next year there's a chance with Ben Johnson coming back to go win a Super Bowl. No way, Adam. You should be embarrassed. You should be embarrassed. You should be embarrassed. How much of a
disgrace this is to the National Football League. You literally have Stefanski versus DeMeco Ryans in a playoff game, who also has the Defensive Player of the Year and the Assistant of the Year, and he gets smoked by 30. Joe Flacco was not unlocked.
Shouldn't even do awards anymore.
Joe Flacco, when he was in the New York Jets in Cleveland, playing the Cleveland Browns, beat the Browns in the last 30 seconds of the game and threw for 80 yards in 40 seconds. Joe Flacco did not get unlocked. Kevin Stefanski got unlocked by Jim Schwartz in that defense because they did exactly what they did with Baker Mayfield in them, but except they lost in the playoff game. That's your Coach of the Year. That's just disrespectful. It's disgusting. It's ignorant. I don't even care that Campbell didn't win it. The fact that Stefanski got it over DeMeco. Yes.
TJ Watt, too. What are we doing here? The NFL. Roger Goodell. Clown.
That was Cleveland Super Bowl right there.
If I have 1 or 2 more questions in the chat before we head out.
Oh, we do have to announce too where Jeff is. At 10 o'clock here, if you guys want to go to, and we can put the link in the chat if we can find it here. I'll go look for it. Jeff will be on the Spiro Avenue show here at 10 o'clock here. That's why he had to drive there to go be on the show. If you guys want to tune in, it should be a very interesting show. If you guys, there's going to be a lot of things talked about. If you guys want to tune into that, I know a lot of people have been asking questions and all of that. Jeff, I'm guessing some of that
He'll
will
be
get,
answering a lot of those.
What'd you say, Lucas? You cut out. I'm sorry.
He'll be answering a lot of those probably.
Yeah, a lot of things will be aired out there. So make sure you guys, if you guys want, go tune in. I'm trying to find here the link for it here real quick, fellas. I don't see it, but I will go on Twitter and see if I can find it. But it is just the Spiro Avenue on YouTube. So make sure you guys go check that out. They will be live at 10 o'clock. I don't think you guys want to miss out on this one.
No,
so throw that out there.
Shout out.
Out there. I'm just really upset right now about Stefanski and TJ Watt. I'm just, you know, the Frank Ragnow news. Frank Ragnow's back, boys. All right. That's it, fellas. Let's lock it up. As you guys go out, hit that like button for us. When the stream does end, make sure you leave a comment underneath as well. That helps out, push the algorithm out, and kind of push the boys out there. Sub to the channel as well. You can get a membership as well. It should be right under there. If you see a little money sign, click that, and you can get a membership. Appreciate all of you guys tuning in. For the boys, Gentry, Lucas.
Shout out. Appreciate all you guys. Till tomorrow. Hey, we're going to have some fire betting segments tomorrow, Booner. We're going to cook up for the people.
I'm excited. So. Super Bowl, all of that. We will have hopefully a stream on Sunday. Appreciate you guys. Tomorrow we will be back 8 p.m., baby. And make sure to go tune in to the Spiro Avenue show with Jeff Iafrate right after this. Love you guys.
Peace.